Hey, pop stars. Welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
And if you heard it, that growl you heard was Bear. Hey, Bear. How you doing this week, Tammy?
I'm doing good. The world is burning. I'm surviving. I'm not I'm still dry. So I guess that's a good thing.
I'm doing okay. Like you said, we're living in a fucking shit show. Every day is like PTSD level
Every
trauma.
day.
Theodore over here agrees. Get down. I'm not picking you up. So, yeah, I guess we could start with that. So, the government is still shut down. They're still refusing to seat Adelina. All roads lead back to Epstein. This has nothing to do, but everything, it's about Epstein. That's really it, to try to prolong that bullshit. So, but while they are doing this, there's still a lot of other fuck shit going on too. My child back here is acting like he's lost his mind. Sorry. But is where to start? So Congress, we all know that this is a lame duck Congress. Is there such a thing? I know there's a lame. So this one is really particularly lame duck. Here you go, just like a real kid. And basically, Steve Bannon said it best. What he said is fucking scary, but it's true. He compared them to the Domo, which is like Russia's Congress, which is a placeholder Congress who sits there and does whatever Putin wants, right? And I'm like, it's scary, it's true, but they know it. They know that Johnson is basically gonna bend at the knee, suck the mushroom, ask for more, And the whole while they're doing this, it's like they are screwing us over. Bannon said they're already looking at ways to get Trump on the 2028 ballot. And it kind of goes back to that one detail that the press and everyone glossed over, where he told them, if you vote this time, you'll never have to vote again.
People
And
forget that.
and then his boy, I guess the shadow president, the real president, is out there saying that, hey, he has plenary powers, basically Trump or Miller, because Miller's like, well, if I decide to send the federal guard into somewhere, like, okay, so we basically now know for sure you're the one calling the shots. And plenary just means that they have all the authority to do what they want to do,
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
absolute authority. So it's just like, and the whole while the government is shut down. You got military families in food soup kitchen lines. You got a $40 billion bailout now to Argentina, which isn't going to Argentina. One of Besant's buddies, hedge fund buddies, bet his ass on the Argentinian economy turning around, and it has not turned around. And so he was going to lose his shirt. So we bought up a whole bunch of Argentinian debt. And my question is, the money's not going to the government. I think it's going to his friend's hedge fund. But now we have all this Argentinian debt that they just got a loan from the IMF. So if that couldn't bail them out, why the fuck are we bailing them out?
I was talking to my mom the other day, and I got like real emotional, right? Because a lot of times people think when you criticize people in America, they think when you criticize the government, that is showing that you don't love your country. And I always have to say that I love my country so much that I'm willing to criticize it because I know what it can be. And I know this is not, we're better than this, right? Like, I know we have some evil, racist individuals in this country. Like, I get it, like, based on our history. But you know what the country could be if we would just allow ourselves to progress naturally, right? Natural progression of the United States, we wouldn't be in this position right now if there wasn't a small group, because I think it's not as large as we think it is, or as people, the general public, think it is, if they wasn't fighting so hard against it because of the fact that they know it'll put them officially in the minority, because there are more people against them than there are people for them. But I was telling my mom, I was just like, I love my country so much. Like, I know there's other people you like be like, where else would you want to be born? And I'd be like, I wouldn't want to be born in any other country. Like, that's just my mindset. But it doesn't take away from the fact that my country is fucked. Like, it doesn't take away from the fact that we are in a dictatorship and that there are too many people still in this country that believe that we are too large and too powerful to fail, not understanding where we originally got that power from. The methods that are being used is how we got the power. Like, but we used it against other people. We use it against non-citizens, and now those same methods that were used against non-citizens is being used against citizens, and it's crazy on how people don't recognize it's the same thing, because if it was any other country and we were seeing this, would we not notice this as a dictatorship? Would we not notice this as fascism? Okay, would we really be sitting here being like, "No, this isn't fascism." Like, it's never gonna happen. Like, yeah, like we only got 4 more years of this. No, this is not a 4-year thing. Like, we're stuck. We're stuck. Like this is our life, and it's just, can you survive it? That's what I feel the question is. Are we going to survive this? When it happens, it is happening. Are we going to survive this?
Thank you. And it's funny you should say that because Rachel Maddow did her opening not this week, but the past week was it's here. There's no more saying that
Alright.
this has to happen in order for us to be considered a fascist country. No, we're here. We're in the throes of it. This is what it's like. And I just hope that we learn our lesson from this. I hope that people always want to talk about America's original sin. America's original sin and what is embedded in the fabric of this country is its racism. We can call that out everywhere else, but we can't call it out here. You and I were talking earlier, and when people always say this country is a Christian nation, no, this country is built on the freedom of religion. There are three things. The foundation of this country goes back to three things. And as I was telling you earlier, the first two predate the last one. Uh, and slavery. Because in order to make that capitalism successful in Jamestown, that tobacco farming, they needed people to quote unquote work. They tried to get the Native Americans to do it. The Native Americans said, fuck you, this is our land. We're the ones who showed you how to survive here and plant this tobacco. You think you're going to turn around and make us do it? No. So they went to a whole nother continent and kidnapped a whole group of people. And then about a year later, the Mayflower landed and they came here for the freedom of religion. So this
Their
country,
religion. People need to
their
understand that. The
religion,
freedom
yes,
of
because they didn't want to give it to
their
everybody
to practice
else.
their religion, because they were not tolerant of any other religious ideas or ideologies, only their own.
Yeah. So it's like that is America's original sin. And that is so embedded in the foundation of this country. And rather than vote for a woman, a black woman at that, biracial woman at that, married to a white Jewish guy, you would rather put us through. It's like you had short-term fucking memory loss. Here we are. It's almost like deja vu from his first term, except where he and his people learned the lessons of where they went wrong, quote unquote, where they were unsuccessful in inflicting their agenda up on the rest of us, that the rest of us didn't. And I think along the lines of people telling us that history doesn't matter, we're too big, like you were saying before, we're too big, strong, powerful to fail. Democracy isn't free. People died, they sacrificed blood, sweat, and tears in order for us to have this life, have this democracy. And by refusing to vote, by refusing to uphold our end of the social contract, we the people, and going out and voting and exercising our power because it doesn't matter, quote unquote, that is how we ended up here. And I normally don't know the title until it's done, but when I was going over the news this week, I kind of came up with one and it hasn't changed. So if you think of something else, let me know. But I kind of like this one, the one where we fucked around and now we're finding out
Oh, yeah. As a nation, it fits. It
it
fits, and I
fit.
feel like it's multiple parts of that, of, like, the FAFO. I and what irks my soul, pisses not even irks my soul, because irks saying that, I'm a little mad, but I'm not too mad. What pisses me off is the lack of readiness for the opposition from the opposition. Like, there's a lack of readiness, and people may think, like, it's a little conspiracy theorist, but they benefit from I'm starting to feel like the opposition benefits from fascism the same way the Republicans are benefiting from fascism, benefiting from this authoritarian system type of government that is being not quickly, not even slowly, quickly implemented in our country because they still running their mouth, but ain't no actions happening. Like, none whatsoever. Like, where is your actions? And y'all are sitting back and it's like, "Oh, well, we need to focus on them swearing in, the woman from Arizona so we can release the Epstein file." Is that your focus? Because what in my opinion, what has shown me is yeah, some of these Republicans are making it seem like it's a big deal to release the Epstein files, and when it is released, they're gonna make an excuse and they're gonna change the lines. They're gonna let him get away with that as well. He has not been held accountable for anything else, and I do not see them holding him accountable if it is confirmed that he's in those files. It is not going to make a lick of difference to those people that he is in those files whatsoever. And I do not think that the establishment Democrats are they have the intelligence and the strength to do what is necessary when all this is over. Because I want a lot of heads on pikes. I want heads on pikes.
Arizona is suing to get Adelita, I can't say her last name, so no disrespect. I think it's Galvetta Gavala. So they're suing to get her sworn in. And to me, it goes bigger than the Epstein's files. She is a duly elected citizen of her state, of her district. And for her not to be sworn in is a violation of their voting rights, which we're gonna get to in a little bit, but it's a total violation. The people of Arizona spoke, that is who they voted for. She needs to be sworn in. The politics, like I said, Johnson, this will probably go down without a doubt as the worst presidential administration in history, even worse than his first term. Go down as the worst, most complicit Supreme Court in the history, and we've had some bad courts, bad, bad courts. And this will probably go down as the worst speaker Congress. They've only worked 79 days out of the past 86, 90 days because he keeps sending them home to avoid doing the work of the people. And I agree with you as far as not I'm not saying both parties are the same because I'm not doing that, but I'm saying that I agree that the Democrats weren't ready. I think, too many of them did not take this seriously because I think rather than because we all know we're not gonna rehash the 2024 election, the majority of the Democrats, establishment of Democrats especially, did not want Kamala. So they figured they would rather roll the dice, deal with another 4 years of term of Trump because they, like so many other people, thought, "Oh, we can get through it." Like, we barely got through the first one. Over 1,000,000 fucking people died on his watch because of his neglect, his incompetence due to COVID. You
Mhm.
threw out a playbook that if you had followed, COVID would have never followed. It would have never been a worldwide pandemic. Like, you want to lead, but you don't wanna lead. You wanna lead the small like, you've abdicated our role as leader. Not saying we were perfect, because we weren't. I'm not saying that at all, but you've abdicated our responsibility as the leader of the world. You know what I'm saying? We're not the bully of the world. We were leading the world in science and tech and education. That's why you had all these people wanting to come here to go to Harvard, MIT, Cal, all these schools. And and so it's like, I think along with you, too many establishment Dems, yes, Nancy Pelosi, I'm fucking talking to you,
Chuck Schumer.
thought that, "Okay, we can get through 4 years and get to Gavin Newsom," because that was who they wanted from the beginning. Let's not pretend like it's not. Is he my favorite? No, but do I think that, as I called him before, Dollar Tree Fitz has what it takes? Do I think he has the cojones to do what will need to be done when this is finally over? When this is over, the United States is going to have to do what they have been long to do since the Civil War. They're going to have to fucking hold people accountable. Not flunkies, not lackeys, not the person who was just taking orders. They're gonna have to go after Miller. I don't know if they can legally get through Trump because of the Supreme Court, but again, one of the first things you gotta do is expand this fucking court.
They had to do Pam Bondi, Caroline Levitt,
All of it.
Marco Rubio,
All of them.
Christy Nome, Stephen Miller, all of them. Every single one of them.
That's it. I'm not talking about people who in the Justice Department were fucking taking orders from their bosses. You gotta go after Kash Patel, Bonajin, you've got to go after them. And we've never wanted to do that. From Watergate, we got the scapegoat. Agnew was the scapegoat. That's great. Okay, let Nixon go. He learned it. No, you know. So there's going to have to be a lot to just rebuild this democracy. A lot to be done. I'm with you. I need people who are willing to do it. Schumer and Rappin Hakeem are not the ones um, to do this. And there was talk about primarying Hakeem. Sorry. There was talk about primarying Hakeem. And I was like, before, a couple of years ago, I would have been like, "Ugh, how dare you?" But now I'm like, bring it. Like, who do you have? You know, because we need fighters.
But
Like this gentleman's politics is dead.
we need is not just Hakeem Jeffries, because I know they're the face of it. They're the face of the because I say this
It's
all the
the
time
others too. It's
to
the
my
ones that
people.
sit back and let them take the flak, but
It's
continue to vote.
all of the establishment
Veterans.
Democrats. There are way more establishment Democrats that really don't have their name out there, but every single thing that Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer put out there, they're in full support of it. It is the way that instead of putting oh my god, I forgot what the committee was, but instead of voting in AOC, who had the passion as well as the knowledge to be the head of I forgot what committee it was.
And Jasmine Crockett, she was going up for
And
the head.
Jasmine Crockett, instead of putting them at the head of the committees when you knew that they could do it and they could hold the Republicans accountable and really push forth the agenda of the Democrats and and their constituents, you put in place that old ass white man. Okay? And who pushed that forward? Nancy Pelosi. But the only way she could push that forward if it wasn't for the fact that that other establishment Democrat was willing to be put in that place. The fact that there are other Democrats in the House that fall in line. I understand you have a lot of power, but like you said, y'all need to do what you didn't do after the Civil War. And that is the reason why I don't care what nobody says. When you are a history buff, when you know your history, when you can focus on what has actually happened and how we have failed as a nation, you have to understand that our failures, right? Our failures as a nation on integrating our nation and the different populations and diversifying our nation comes from civil war. And the fact that you didn't want to hold those people accountable for being traitors to the nation. They were traitors. And instead, you allowed them to go home to their plantations and continue to live their rich, wealthy lives. And then they were able to take their wealth and give it to their children that they raised to be just like them. And that is the reason why those families are still the families who are the wealthiest families in the country. All right. And then what they did is they perfected it. They sat back for 20, 30, 40 years and they perfected and they let the hanging fruit, the KKK, and all those low, poor white people do their job for them while the extremely wealthy sat in a room and they planned the next attack, knowing that it wasn't going to be in 10 years. It wasn't going to be in 20 years. It could take them 60 years, but they were going to be back on top. And we sat back and let it happen. And the Democrats were part of that as well. And I'm just like, y'all need to all go, not just Hakeem Jeffries. Every single one of you need to go. Every single one of you. We need millennials in Congress. My generation needs to take over because Gen X ain't going to step up. Okay? They just sitting back and letting this shit happen. We need to get rid of every single baby boomer and silent generation member from Congress. Every single one of them got to go. None of them needs to keep their jobs. all right? And it's not about purity politics and no, you're not doing what you need to do. Trump is going to be get away with he's gotten away. He's sending federal agents to attack American citizens. American citizens. Something that y'all thought would never happen. Y'all said, "Oh, it's going to be the immigrants. Getting rid of the aliens. We're getting rid of the illegals." He's attacking American citizens, like cursing them out, threatening to punch them in the face, zip tying them, all right? Throwing them in detention centers, even when they say that they're legal, even when they say that they're citizens. Like, who's gonna be held accountable for this? And y'all sitting up there talking about, yeah, because we need to work together and we got this in 4 years or in 2 years. Who the fuck is waiting 2 years? Who who says that we're making it to 2026? No, we're we're not making it to 2026. We're not making it. Okay? Who says we're making it to 2028? I had to tell people, I said, y'all, this is our life now. 28 election? Him going that man's dying in office. Okay? I'm saying it now. And you've said it before. Like, I remember when you first mentioned the fact of like, if he's elected, we're never having another election. And I was just like, I was one of those. I was just like, what? Like, no. I'm sorry, Eddie, that I didn't believe you because we're not. Fully like we are fucked. We are fucked.
And it's like there's so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
So, bit by bit. So, the bailout, Argentina. Again,
Where
you are
mama
bailing
at? Are
out
you the
our farmers' biggest competition. Now, someone told me this, "My lack of empathy does not mean joy." I have very little empathy or sympathy for the majority of these farmers because they all fucking voted for this. This is what you voted for. Let's keep it a buck.
FAFO?
But like you said, as an American, someone who loves my country, on the other side of that coin, how fucking dare you bankrupt American citizens purposely, bail out their competition so that they can undercut them to their biggest buyer. What the fuck kind of sense does that make? So on one hand, it's like karma,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, the bigger picture is what happened to fucking America first? You're purposely bankrupting farmers. And let's keep it a buck. We have a Department of Agriculture. Why? Because agriculture is a big fucking business. They went from selling what, $20 billion plus worth of soybeans a year to China to selling nothing. So, and one farmer who do not think was part of the MAGA farmer, let's vote for Trump, uh, he said, fuck this handout that they wanna give them, this because they know it's bad press, so they've been talking about giving them some type of Band-Aid. He said it's a fucking Band-Aid. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to stop the bleeding. It's not this is not I want my business back. I want you to, you know and I'm like, "But the majority of your pals, y'all voted for this." And people keep saying it, only in fucking America can you get billionaires fucking billionaires to tell other poor people that poor people are your problems, that your neighbors or people who are in the same fucking boat as you, they're the fucking problem.
They're the one that put you in a position that you're in.
Yeah, you know? And so it's like, you thinking that, and again, it's like, for a lot of reasons, I'm not gonna say I've never voted for a Republican because I have, but that was way before this iteration of the party, right? And I was okay and I was comfortable, I was okay with my vote for that particular person. Would I do it again? Hell no, because generally, I don't agree with Republican politics, I've never have. And then as you get older when I was younger, it was just the social stuff because, but as you get older and you start looking at the bigger picture, it's the economics involved too. And the trickle down economics y'all been trying to sell us since Reagan has not fucking trickled down. Trickled up, but never down. And it's like, do y'all not pay attention and see? Like, really get off of Fox News, get your head out of your asses, stop and really just open your eyes and see that when the economy and everything does better, it's under Democrats. When you are thriving, it's under Democrats. Farmers got mad because black farmers got the reparations that they had been owed for years. But you act like you didn't get anything out of that either. That was the story, but they're not the only ones who got anything from that. You know what I'm saying? So, oh, God forbid that a black woman, a black man, a woman, a white woman, a Latino man, an Asian man, a minority has the opportunity to interview for a job that all other 98 positions are filled by people who look like you, white men. But those 2 positions that might go to someone who doesn't look like you, that's really affecting you, you know? And so while he's out here bailing out Argentina to the tune of $40 billion, which is doubled from the original 20 billion, we got a whole fucking village in Australia floating in the fucking Bering Sea. So it's either gonna go one of 2 places, into the Pacific or straight into Russia, and you've done nothing about it. 'Cause you as soon one of the first things you got when you went into office is the EPA cut the flooding maintenance for that particular village, because just like here in Texas over the summer, that tragic flood that happened in the hill country, they knew it was a flood zone. But because you cut all the weather people, all the money for flooding protection, they were caught completely unaware. So it's just like, again, we've had history. There was nothing about his first term that told us this man was ever going to be a good fucking president, to care for the people. The only thing he cares about is him and his people making money. And we won't talk about how much money. When he says he's brought in trillions of dollars, yeah, on the face of it, on paper, he's probably brought in hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars to him and his people, but nothing for the American people. So just, I don't get it. I don't understand how people still think that this is a good thing. And as we're taping this, today is the day of the No Kings rally. So, and I know this wasn't on our list, but just since it came up, what do you think about those? Like,
Think I actually think is really great. I think the fact that every time they plan another one, more and more people are on board with it because they see what is going on in our country. I will also say that I love the fact that there needs to be an acknowledgement in our country that in order for our country to survive, in order for our democracy to be saved, white people need to get their head out of their ass. People of color, black people can get together as much as they want. They can march in the streets as much as they want. But if white people continue to sit on their ass, nothing is going to get done in this country. No matter what we would like to feel, that is a fact, just based on the fact of what we were built on, you know? And so knowing that the face of the No Kings movement, the ones who are organizing it and pushing it is white people, and that's what needs to happen. And I hate to have to say that, but that's what needs to happen. I also will say that I love the fact that while it's going on and they're saying that they may actually break the record of the biggest protests and marches in US history. The last record was during the Black Lives Matter movement after George Floyd. I will also say I love the fact that black people's like, we good. Like, you do you. Like, we watching from home. Like, I got it. Not to say that there are not black people that are out there marching, like, definitely, but there's still the mindset that we did all we could and it's y'all's turn. Tag, you're it. They're slowly getting it. I think a little too slow for what's going on around us, but they are getting it. And they are coming to realize that can't require black people to be at the forefront of these movements the way that we've always been in this country when we showed them who we really were in November of last year. And so we have to show them that we're willing to sacrifice ourselves as well. So I think that this is a level of sacrifice because you know that they're going to send the US Gestapo into these marches and these protests. They're going to send them into these marches and their protests. They're going to perform violence on American citizens in these protests and then turn around and try to spin it like it was the protesters. He is using the military against us, right? On what he's trying to do in California with the what is it, the cannons that they're supposed to be firing at the same time as the No Kings protests, and I believe it's in Los Angeles or near the coast. And so I like it. I was asked if I was going to participate, and I said, "No, I'm not, but I'm in full support of it." But you won't catch me in the streets for it, but I'm in full support, 100% in support, but not with my body. No.
Yeah, I agree. And I was talking to a friend, and it's hard because just given who I am, I want to be out there.
Yeah.
I've been out there. I wasn't at the ones for George Floyd because it was the height of COVID, and my mom was
Yeah.
scared, and I live with an immunosuppressed person. But that was hard too, staying home for that. I did go out for the initial immigration protest when they were locking the kids in the cages and all of that. So it it it's hard on one hand to just stay home because I want to do something. I feel like I need to be doing more. But I'm doing, but I agree. I think that it has to be white people. Also, if there were a bunch of us out there, they would not hesitate to because now what they're doing, we know that, like you said, they've already said that the Proud Boys and that they're going to be doing things to incite. There are going to be those actors out there to incite, those incitement actors to
Yeah.
incite the violence and all of that, and they've been warned, and so the organizers and everyone's been telling them, "Be careful, don't fall for the okey doke." But if we were out there, it makes it so much easier to spin that, "Oh, they were violent and the violence begets
Mhm.
the violence, that it would be our fault." So that's also another reason why I think it's good that we kind of fell back because for so many reasons. Either we're on the front line using our bodies making that ultimate sacrifice, or we've been used as the scapegoat, the reasons for the violence. Because most protests are not violent until the police or the authorities step in and
Right.
make it so. So you know, and I'm in agreement. I have mixed feelings about Ezra 11, but at least people are doing something, and they're doing it and this is the second one they've had, and like I said, despite what the media shows you, people have been protesting everywhere in places where you would not expect on a daily basis, so
Mhm.
I think that and this is a perfect segue, the media has really also abdicated its responsibility.
Freedom of the press, that's gone.
Yes, and with all these media companies now being owned by the same people, I think especially Paramount and CBS, and what they did in officially naming Barry Weiss as the editor of CBS News, the head of the CBS News branch, I think is a disgrace. She's nothing more but a glorified version of us, you know? Glorified podcaster who wrote editorials for the New York Times, which were always trashed. She's not a real reporter, never has been. And the people at CBS News are already saying that it's a shit show. And I think this is basically because he wanted to clamp down on 60 Minutes.
Mhm.
Also, I think that Larry Ellison being one of the ones to buy TikTok when that goes through, his son, let's just face it, he probably owns Paramount through his son, whatever. That is going to be TikTok is going to go the way of Twitter. Sorry for you TikTok users, but it's going to happen.
It is.
And it kinda goes back to I remember our last episode where I said I was proud for Hip Hop and Hakeem and Chucky for actually doing their jobs, and I was like, "That comes out the wrong way, but you got what I meant." So, I think the press had a broke clock moment. We mentioned it before where Hegseth wanted them to sign this thing saying that they could only report
What
what
he allowed
the
them.
Defense Department told them to report, nothing else, they had very limited access, blah, blah, blah. Well, surprisingly, all of them said, "Fuck you," except for OWN, OAN. Even and here's the surprise I was surprised that, given the changes, CBS, no, um, so NPR, Reuters, AP, the ones you could still call independent said no. The quote unquote mainstream said no, but
Mhm.
Fox And Newsmax also said no. I was like, "What the fuck?" So, it kinda goes to, like, is it a catch-22? Are they getting what they wanted and getting the press out of the building? And I hope they don't think that means that's gonna solve anything because now you're gonna have more leaks. I'm just saying.
Mhm.
Then and now it's set up to become the state news. And also one of the things I think has been underreported, this is 2 things, but I just thought about it as we were talking about the no elections. Quiet as it's kept, Dominion voting machines
Yes.
sold to one of his cronies. And I'm like, why the it goes back to what did I say one of our original sins is capitalism. You just got this 80 damn near $100 million judgment from Fox because of their defamation of you. They
Mhm.
quietly settled all the other suits with all the other people, Rudy and all of them, to sell, and that was part of the thing, that was part of the contract to be sold to a crony of Trump's who's already said he's going to follow Trump's so it's like, we are cooked because you can't even
Like
trust
our
the voting
elections.
apparatus now.
Yeah.
But again, this story, just like the Alaskan story, were wholly underreported. So it's like on one hand, you stand up to the bully, but you're still kowtowing to the bully. So one doesn't outweigh the other. And the Dominion voting thing is so fucking scary because, it kind of brings up scandal. Past is prologue, truth, fiction is
Yeah.
fact, you know? So it's just like, because, my conspiracy is they cheated in this election too. But so it's just like,
Yeah. No, like, I agree, with what you said, and I think that I go back to what I said before, that we are very reactionary as a society, and they bet on that. They bet on the fact that we react to things rather than we're not proactive to it. And so people not recognizing that Republicans will lose 9 times in a row, and every single time that they lose, they learn about another mistake that they make, and they perfect it for the next time until that 10th time comes up and they have corrected all of their mistakes in order to reach their goal. And they did that. And it took them not 10 years, it took them over 30 years to get to this point. And they patiently waited and they lost a lot. And they learned every single time that they lost. They learned from their mistakes and they perfected it and they moved forward. And they had little gains here and there, and then they would lose again. And then they would watch themselves and be like, okay, bet. And I think the catalyst is 2008 when Barack Obama was elected. And when Barack Obama was elected, and they realized how far in progress the country had come to elect a black man. Doesn't matter that he's biracial. He's a black man to be in the highest office, to be the most powerful man in the world. And then to think over 8 years, Barack Obama showed them what we have known through our entire existence, that we are better than you, that we are more intelligent, that the creations, the creativity of society comes from us. And y'all bring destruction. That's what you bring. You bring destruction. And you think destroying and then feeding off of the ruins is winning. And so here comes a very intelligent man, educated at one of the top universities in the world, from considering himself to be from a black city of Chicago, Illinois, elected twice. Okay. Not to say, and people can say, don't agree with everything Obama did. That's fine. But he was an extremely intelligent man, very intelligent man, very successful president. All right. And no matter what people say, one of the best presidents we've had in the history of the United States. Love him or hate him. And when I tell you those 8 years, they sat in that room and they figured it out. And that's how we got Trump.
Yeah, they had to they he
They
forced
figured
them
out how to focus on race.
they had to fast track their plan because they were like, "That is
It brought up
never
they're scared. Yeah, they were
that's never
scared
gonna
when
happen
Obama got
again."
they never thought it would happen. Like, they really didn't. Like, they were like, "Over McCain? A military veteran? McCain? A POW?
And by
Nah, he ain't gonna win that." And he did. He did. He won. And everybody looked and said, we've grown. Like, we have progressed as a nation. We are the leaders that we always claimed to be because look at what we did.
and then
Country that was b Yeah, country that was built on slavery, look what we did. We elected a black man. And with that, they said no, because that means that if we let this continue, we will never be in power again in this country. We will never again. And they perfected it. And what they did is they put forth the most racist individual who had charisma. Hate to admit it, but he does. Okay, able to to spew nonsense over and over again with a lack of intelligence, and you get a whole group of people to get behind you. And he was really good at that, and they put him on there and they put him on display to do his thing, and he did very well in it. And while Trump is the face, I always got to tell people, I understand we focus on Trump, but you got to focus on all the people behind him. Those are the dangerous people. The most dangerous people in our country are the ones behind Trump. Because if you took those people away, Trump is nothing. He's
Stephen Miller
nothing
rough fought the
without
people
those
doing that
evil
project.
people behind him. Stephen Miller is pure evil. I don't care what nobody says. And the fact that he is literally running our country, and all you got to do is pat that man on the back, pat him in the head and say, "You the smartest. You're amazing. Okay? You're the richest man ever." All right? That's what they do. They feed his ego and he allows them to spew their evilness throughout this nation and destroy us. And to think that there are a number of people in this country that will go on TV and say that they love our country, that they are pure Americans, and then behind our backs is giving our money away, billions and trillions of dollars away to other nations. And will go on TV and say, we're about America first. Yes, we are. And then behind the scenes, we'll be okay with American children dying, American children starving, okay? Our veterans ending up homeless on the street, okay? The fact that you don't treat our veterans for PTSD and what they have experienced when they have served in this country and sacrificed their lives. You don't do anything for Americans, but you because you can say I'm America first, because you can say I'm a true American, all right? People just be like, "Yeah, they're patriotic." Because they said it? What is patriotic about what they're doing? My tax dollars should be going to me, to us, to every child that needs food. I don't fucking care if their parents have 10 children and they shouldn't have had the 10 kids because they can't afford it. All right? If out of those 10 children, 9 of them are starving, you better take my dollars that I've paid y'all every single year that I have been working since I was 16 years old and feed every single one of those children.
But
I
they're
don't
not.
care. I don't care. Somebody goes to the hospital and they need surgery and they can't afford it. Yes, they should get my tax dollars to be able to afford the surgery that they need so that they can continue living their life. I'm okay with that. How is it that we live in a country where we spew this nonsense about it being America first and we're patriotic, and then behind the scenes, none of our tax dollars go to the people who you claim should only be American. It don't go to Americans. Who's getting these American tax dollars? Please, I need somebody to tell me who's getting it. Because I know
Because
I ain't.
that
Who's
would be
getting our money?
because that would be socialism, like, all these words that people don't understand, and they throw out these big words, and it's like, again, for us to be America, the greatest country on earth, blah, 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 leader of the free world, only one that has our violence problems, okay? Only one And by the way, all those times they told you that Obama and the Democrats were going to take your guns and start a gun registry, no, that's Pam Bondi. She's doing that. They announced that they're starting a gun registry, a gun owner database. And then, America first, socialism, blah, blah, blah. We're the only developed country in the world that doesn't have some sort of government-based healthcare plan to help, you know. All other countries who have that are thriving. I wouldn't even mind paying a little bit more for that. California, shout out to California, started their own insulin program, $11, starting January 1st, 2026. Someone said Gavin is running California like a little country. Gavin is auditioning for the
'Cause
job if he can get it.
'cause it is.
It is. 4th
Calif
largest.
what is it, the 4th largest economy in the world?
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out how I can get there. But in
With a good job, 'cause it's still expensive.
It is, so that's what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to figure but and we've talked about it, by the time you weigh everything out, is it really? I think, so I'm still trying to figure it out. But and you are absolutely correct, and speaking of children, you heard about the Young Republicans and their young Republicans and their signal chat that went viral. And when you hear about Young Republicans, now I'm going to say this. I saw it and at first I was like, because I don't know much about the Young Republicans, right? I'm thinking high school age kids who say ridiculous, dumb ass shit. So I wasn't
College
excusing
age.
it. I wasn't justifying it, but I was like, kids say dumb, stupid shit, right? Again, I'm thinking young Republicans. These motherfuckers are 25. Let me put it this way. They are too old to still be claimed on their parents' insurance. And what is the cutoff age for that? 24, 26.
26.
These motherfuckers are 27, 28, 29, 30 years old. They're young Republicans. The age range is what, 18 to 40? So they closer to the 40 than they are the fucking 18. My point is they fucking knew better. And then you get couch fucker going on TV trying to gaslight us. And God, we were talking about people who with new faces who looks bad. Have you seen couch fucker lately?
I have not, but I also don't wanna
Girl,
go look at that. Ugh,
girl.
'cause he ain't looked too good before.
Jabba the Hutt
Good
with
f
the bad eyeliner. And he always looks fucking sweaty. Like, I don't know, the job,
Like he waiting
him
for the
doing,
next hit?
thank you, him doing nothing all day. But my point is, this motherfucker says kids will be kids. Racism, full-blown Nazism, talking about calling back the gas chambers, joking about fucking rape. Grown-ass adults. Like I said, 25, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. They were all in that fucking age range. Mid-20s to lower 30s. You know fucking better. You're not fucking kids. Just because you're part of a group called the Young Fucking Republicans, these are not, and even if they were kids, I'm not justifying it, but even if they were kids, you know that kids say stupid shit, and I'm saying that to say you would think there still might be some hope, right? But these, and then I'm loath to body shame or talk about the way people look, but have you seen these motherfuckers? Y'all are not winning. Like, if take your incelic, and I don't even know if incelic is a word. I'm like Shaq over here making my own word up. But take your incelic ass home. Like, talking about we are the king of the crop. These are the people that your parents want you to. No. Like, is the hatred there to cover up? Is it projection? Is your outward hatred a projection of your inner and self-hatred? Because
Don't think
it's
so.
not that they're not, quote unquote, by I'm not, how do I put this? To me, it's not so much of how they look or their body size that makes them unattractive. It's the hatred adds on to that. Does that make sense?
It does.
So that's what I'm getting at this. It has really nothing to do with how you look. It is your behavior. It is your thought process. Your inner beauty does not exist. So it makes the rest of you even just ugly. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Girl, okay,
Hey.
I can tell you got shit to say.
Okay, so one thing, and I've always said this, you know, we've gone back and forth on this. I don't excuse racist, homophobic, sexist, misogynistic, Islamophobic behavior because of your age. I don't. I think in the globalized world that we live in, a 10-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old knows better.
I agree.
And the reason why you know that they know better is because there are millions of 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and 18-year-olds who would never. So they know better, and it's a choice that you make. So if they were actually high schoolers, I would not excuse them. And I hate when people excuse bad behavior by teenagers because of their age, like they all do it when they don't. Like majority of them do it when majority of them do not. Okay. And so, I mean, I knew who the Young Republicans were because on the college campus that I worked at, there was a Young Republicans organization on the campus. So I knew there were at least college age. I didn't realize that they went all the way up to the age of 40. But I did know that there were a college age group that were on college campuses. And so seeing it and knowing that the vice president kept saying, these are kids, and how can you destroy your lives? And I'm gonna kinda go to a story from, like, maybe over 10 years ago, and I'll bring it back. When I was, like, in my I wanna say, like, maybe mid-20s, there was this young girl, she was 16 years old, and she went to a party, and there was a lot of drinking at the party. And so what happens is she goes to the party with her friends, and her friends leave her there. She gets really drunk, they leave her in a room, and then football players walk into the room, and they ran a train on her. They gang raped her. She was unconscious. And they then took photos of her while she was knocked out, unconscious. They moved her limbs around and they started to take sexual photos of her. And then they started to spread it around the school. And she was called a slut and a whore and all this stuff. When you can clearly see in the photos that she ain't know what was going on to her. And so they weren't going to arrest these. I think it was 4 of them who were the main ones. They weren't going to arrest them because they were football players, star football players on the football team. And so they weren't going to arrest these 4 boys that did this to this young girl. But ultimately, the pressure of the media, they ultimately had to do that. And do you know the excuse that they used for getting them off of this
Boys will be
crime?
boys.
That why would you, over just a small mistake, destroy their whole entire future? Because these were boys who were going to be recruited to go to the top universities in the country for football. That's how good they were. And so because of the fact that they were so good at football and they were 16 years old, the same age as her, destroyed her whole entire reputation, published all these photos of her unconscious after they raped her, right? Every single one of them got a slap on the wrist. And the excuse that they used was, they're young. Why would we destroy their kids make mistakes? Kids make mistakes. Why would you destroy their whole entire future over
Rape
that
is not a
mistake?
fucking mistake.
And I look at it this same way because people hear kids and they automatically think that is true, that they don't know no better. You have to still teach them. They're still developing their cognitive skills, right? And so when the vice president goes on the news and he talks about how, kids make dumb mistakes. It's the language that he's using because he knows when people hear kids, they automatically is like, you're right. They don't know no better. Okay? We automatically think when you say kids, we're thinking teenagers. Okay? And why would you destroy a teenager's whole entire future over some words? But what I want to what people need to understand is words turn into actions. And I don't know anyone where you feel a certain way about something and it doesn't turn into action. It does. If you are racist, there are going to be certain actions that are committed by you based on your racism. Now, when I say action, I don't mean you're going to get violent and beat somebody to death. No. But there are going to be certain actions that you commit based in your racism. When you talk about rape, that means that if a woman was to come to you and say that your friend raped her, you would shrug your shoulders and you would be okay with it at 30 something years old because women lie. And I know my friend, never. She lying on his name. And that's the language that we're using in order to excuse the fact that these people use the N word repeatedly. That's racism.
Mhm.
That they talked about raping people, that's sexism and misogyny. That they talked about the gas chambers, that's anti-Semitic. Y'all love to focus on that. That's anti-Semitic. Okay? You talked about all this other stuff you want to do. You love Hitler.
And they were
Gotta
also
love Adolf. Gotta love
speaking.
Adolf. Germany don't even like Adolf.
Thank you.
Germany can't stand their history of the fact that Hitler is a representation of their past and their history. Oh my God, it just irks my soul because I'm like, how are we excusing the fact that these people are showing who Republicans are? This is who you are. You are racist. You are sexist. You are anti Semitic. Okay? You are misogynistic. You are homophobic. You are. That's what you are. Accept it. Be proud of what you are and suffer the consequences of nobody wanting to be around you. Nobody wanting to be around you. How are we like, did you hear what the New York governor said? She said she tired of this bullshit. She said, I'm tired of this bullshit. She went off. She went off, and you could tell on her face she's mad. Like she was pissed at the fact that they're trying to excuse this. And you know another thing? There is not enough people in leadership roles in politics who are coming out boldly against this. I feel that every interview that y'all have for the next couple weeks should be about the government shutdown. And all you should say is this is a Republican government shutdown. But can we talk about those text messages from those Republicans?
Thank you.
Every single interview, you should be bringing this up. We don't need to be brushing this under the rug. This is showing the future of your party.
And this is, you know, it is, and it's also how you get the story kinda disturbing. I'm pull Rachel here, so if you wanna turn away for a moment, you might wanna do so. This is how you end up with five-year-olds being raped by 9 and 10-year-olds.
Yeah,
And
kids will be kids.
kids will be kids, the justification of it. And now the question is because the 9 and 10-year-olds, the 9-year-old and 10-year-old who did rape and assault this 5-year-old girl in Cleveland, Ohio area, they are being charged with attempted murder, 4 counts of rape, felonious assault. Those are very adult charges. So that tells me that they are either being charged as adults or they are going to be be in the system until they're 18.
And then
And
monitored so when they do it again, they can charge them as an adult.
yeah, I don't think well, I don't think they're getting out of this. I think there should be some accountability for this. 9 and 10, that's very young, but it's just like, on the other hand, like we were talking about the access that kids have to stuff nowadays,
We know better.
they know better. How do they even know what that is? What is it in your mind at 9 or 10 years old? Where have you seen this? What is going on to make you want to do this to another person, a little girl, a 5-year-old?
And it
Someone
and
y'all
en
sh
enjoy the evilness of it. Like, we gotta focus on that as well, like, the laughter and the enjoyment that based on how just evil the actions were, and just how, like, they traumatized this little girl. You know that is psychopath behavior.
yeah.
That is 3 sociopaths, psychopaths that met up, realized that they share similar traits, and decided to perform out of their evilness. Evil
And
doesn't have an age limit. I'm just
it
gonna
does
put that out.
not, and to justify, and this is a case where that excuse, but they're children, but you have to look at the heinousness of what they did, and if you let it go, I'm not saying they don't need help, because obviously they do.
They can have
They
help in prison.
And I agree with that, and it's just really, really sad, and the people are like, "But they're kids," but they're kids who committed such an adult crime, and it's like, "Well, they don't well, you need to make them understand."
In
And
prison. I'm sorry, in prison. They can
yeah,
understand in prison.
they're not gonna
Well,
go
they
to
can
an
understand when I say prison, I mean juvie. They can
yeah.
understand in juvie.
And
That's where they can understand.
yeah, it's just that story is particularly heinous, and just hearing that they're kids, it kinda I found out about that one today, and it made me think of this, and it's like, it's the same excuse, you know? And like I said
Making those connect, yep.
earlier, sometimes when we think of it from the lens of they are kids, and because they're kids they don't, but we live in such an advanced world, an advanced society, and I'm sorry, at 9 or 10 I was never thinking of anything, and I watched a lot of shit on TV, so you can't blame TV or whatever, or video games.
Yeah.
I never once had that idea or that thought. Even as a writer, someone who loves to write and my mind goes to these places, I am very loath to tell those types of stories. Or if I do, it's not for gratuitous value. It has to serve a purpose within the story. And so when I hear people justify that in kids, you think, okay, language we can talk about. We can talk about the right or wrong. If the 9-year or 10-year-olds had this signal chat, it would still be very fucking disturbing.
But that would be something you can catch.
Yes, exactly.
Action is different. Action
And
is
that's what I
different.
meant when I said earlier, we get in that mindset, we think of kids, right? So
Mhm.
but this? Keep thinking, "But they're kids." But I'm like, "But what the fuck kinda kids? Like, what?" And I think is this constant need to excuse the behavior, never wanting to deal with things that should be dealt with. Because I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to judge parents or anything like this, but you can't tell me that this is the first time that this it didn't come out of left field, in my
Other
opinion.
smaller actions must have happened that has
There were
led to
other
the
things.
yeah,
It was conversations they would have, things they would say that
things that
there
you
was
caught them
signs.
doing that didn't seem normal for their
Yeah,
age.
and so it's just like, I can't if I'm having a hard time, a very hard time, and I can't say I'm just gonna say justifying because that's the only word I can think of at this time, okay? So if I can or reconciling. If I can have a hard time reconciling this act with the fact that that they literally are fucking kids who got caught doing the things that these grown ass non-kid adults said, it's a very slippery slope. And to kind of move it a little bit away into something different, what's even more disgusting to me about JD Vance, going back to the couch fucker, who loves his eyeshadow, his eyeliner a little too much, Mr. Potato Head, Jabba the Hutt, whatever you want to call him, is the fact that you have brown children, you have biracial children. Your children look more like their mother than they do you. If you did not know JD Vance was their father, you would think their father was another Indian man. The only thing they got from you, homie, was your last name.
Mhm.
Your children are brown. And for you to continuously dismiss all this racist shit as that it doesn't affect you and it will never hit yours. Again, when your kids step out into the world, no one's going to really know who you are. You know what I'm saying? And so that is also the heightened hypocrisy of it all. I know there's a lot to unpack in all of that, but the
Yeah,
kids thing was
so
bumming me out.
yeah, you were saying that, and I will say even bringing up we didn't mention it when we went over our, list, but, Vivek, Ramaswamy and him trying to run for the governor of Ohio and thinking that he actually had a shot, right? And the experience of him getting comments from, young white Republicans who told him to his face, "You ain't never winning this shit. We would never vote for you, okay? Because you a brown man, and you not a Christian, you a Hindu." All right, to his face, and still, like, him smiling through it, right? And I'm gonna ask a question. It's a little ignorant. Imma acknowledge that. It's gonna be a little ignorant. But are Indian people the new Uncle Toms? Because quite a few of them, to realize how many of them are Republican, and not the light-skinned Indians, it's the dark-skinned ones. That are like the ones who can't deny the fact that they are Indian, who are not only Republican, okay, because they got groups over there the way that Democrats do. Not only that they're Republican, but the fact that they are more vocal now in the fact that they align themselves with European Americans,
I
and the fact
think
that they want to be like European Americans rather than the Asian Americans that they actually are.
and I think that you just hit the nail on the head. Let's not forget that there are quite a lot of wealthy Indians and the caste system that they have over there. And most of the ones that are coming immigrating to the country are probably the wealthier ones. India also tends to be more conservative politically and socially. And so once they get over here, they want that what we call that proximity to whiteness. So I think it's more of that Latino, Hispanic thing, those Cubans, the rich Cubans in Miami, the ones who want to be white or consider themselves white or. So I think it's all that proximity to whiteness. And I think America has done a great job over the years of selling the ideology of the American dream as being white, the whole assimilation thing that we've had throughout our history, that American is white, you know?
Because that's what JD Vance is. I could just, I'll tell from here, is that Vivek Ramaswamy, Kash Patel, Jindal in Louisiana, I believe it was,
Bobby
where he was
Jindal.
elected. Yeah. That's gonna be his kids. Like, it doesn't matter that they look Indian. They are going to live their life the way that their mother has lived her life, with the proximity to European Americans, and they're going to stick to that. And they're going to swallow their pride every single time that they deal with racism in order to keep their position. They're going to swallow their pride every single time that they're told to their face that you too brown for this. Every single time that they're told to their face that you don't belong here, they're going to smile through it as they feel the pain on the inside for being rejected again and again. And so I don't think the experience of, because not all Indians are Republican, of course, but I don't think that they are going to accept their lot in life. I think they're gonna fake the funk their whole entire life because of who they're being raised by. Okay? They're gonna be raised by someone who's going to look at them and say, that will never apply to you. What they say about Indians, that don't apply to y'all. Y'all the good ones. Y'all my kids. That ain't y'all. When they talk about y'all, they not talk. When you sit around the dinner table and I invite my friends over and my friends say some really racist jokes, look to me and your mama, because if me and your mama start, you so funny, then you need to laugh too, cause they don't really mean it. They just joking. Kids will be kids. Yeah, yeah.
Any so
Moving on. Like,
okay. really quickly. So people are falling for this whole MTG rebrand, Marjorie Taylor Greene making sense. She's been having quite a few broke clock moments lately, and she's
Because
coming
she
in.
have power.
I think she finally got some politically savvy people on her team, and I think she's part of what you called earlier the purple revolution. I think she's trying to walk as close as she can to play both sides to the middle.
Fuck her. Sorry,
I
go ahead.
agree. I'm not falling for the
My bad, my
rebrand.
bad.
I'm not falling for the rebrand at all. But I think she's realizing the writing's on the wall, and they cannot hold Congress out forever. The government cannot stay shut down forever. And I think she kinda wants to be on the right side of I don't know. I can't. I can't. It's just
She
don't fall for the all I'm saying is don't fall for the okey doke. Don't fall
she's like the 3 percenter,
yeah,
right, from the Purple Revolution. She's like the guy who he comes online and he talks about how need to unite and everything like that, but it's coded in the fact that he wants us to get behind him and his people, even though he wears a shirt that shows that he's a racist.
yeah.
Right?
So
Proudly shows wears the shirt that says he's a racist, right? But we need to unite together. Why? I think that she's part of that, right? Where as soon as we unite in order to fight our common enemy, right? This idea of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, that don't fucking work no more. Okay? If you are the enemy of my enemy, you are also my enemy. Okay? I don't know who you is. Get out my face. Okay? And so I think that she will be the same way as in she gonna come to our side for a minute. All right. And as soon as it gets back to good for her, she gonna go right back over to her side. You know who that remind me of? And she does a way better job of it, I will say. Liz Cheney. Because I never believed it. Right? Liz Cheney
mhm.
is a great example of we gonna unite together against our common enemy, and then as soon if they were able to shut Trump down, she would have went right back over to the side that she'd always been on.
But you
And
know
she
what? I will say I agree with you. She was never one thing about her, she was always honest about that. She said, "Politically, I don't agree with her, but this is for the good of the country." So I could always hold her to that. She was always very vocal. She was not giving up being a Republican. She just ain't no MAGA Republican.
Well, yeah, but still promoting this idea of unity, right? Coming over to our side, her and
Well, when yeah,
Kissinger, just to kind of show a unity from both sides. You know, that's what a real purple revolution would have looked like, right? But my thing is that like as soon as they would have shut him down, she would have went back over to the other side. And I understand like she said that, but it's the fact that people saw her supporting Harris and was like, I'd vote for her. What?
you'd
What?
vote for this. What? No.
When I had someone who said that to my face, and I said, "For what?" And they were like, because I really like her. And I said, oh, you Republican? And they were like, no. And I said, no, you got to be Republican because when she's done, and because I said it was a common goal was to shut that man down. And if they had achieved that goal, she'd have went right back over to her side. Because here's the thing. What people don't understand is Liz Cheney's goal was to run for president of the United States, something her father couldn't do. All right. That is her actual goal. And so coming over and supporting the Democrats and trying to shut that man down was to give her an opportunity to go back to regular politics. All right. Of her being able to run and possibly becoming the first Cheney to be president of the United States because the furthest her father could get was VP. All
You
right.
mean
Because
to
he,
be the first official president of the United States?
yeah, And
Because
so,
Sheila
yes.
Dick was the president.
Yeah, he was like Stephen Miller. But But ultimately, like, he could never get the position, right? He could never be, identified as that. And so that's what I mean. Like, I don't mean that she automatically was going to start voting Democrat or anything. What I mean is that she would have went right back over to her side of the aisle as soon as she could. And so the same thing goes with Green. I feel that with Green, and she's not as smart as Cheney is. Because one thing is, I will acknowledge the fact that Cheney is a very intelligent woman. I just don't agree with her politically. But with Green, that's her thing. She's just dumber. But that would be her mindset. Is okay. Well, you know what? I'm right, 'cause, the country is going downhill, like, we need to come together and, work this out and everything, and as soon as she got the one thing that she wants, which is power, because the only reason why Green is speaking this nonsense now is because she's losing power. She ain't got the power that she had. Ain't nobody talking about her the way that they used to talk about her, alright? And so the fact that nobody's talking about her the way that they used to, she ain't one of those MAGA Republicans that she used to be, okay? Because they even go when they're too extreme for Green, you know you lost the plot. You know you lost the plot because you too MAGA for Green. Like that's crazy work. And so as soon as she gets what she wants, what is she gonna do? She gonna go right back to the nonsense that she was at in the first place. So you don't get no support. I refuse to acknowledge the fact that you making sense. I don't believe it. I don't believe
Thank
it.
you.
I think you still stupid. I'm speaking to
And
you. You still stupid.
we're probably gonna be more criminals soon. They're still
We are.
cosplaying Miami Vice out in the Caribbean Sea, and they blowing up any boat that moves. And so the big one, the first ones they blew up, and they were so excited because they got all them drug dealers. It turned out to be just regular rich Colombian citizens on their yacht. Colombia
Mhm.
is filing charges in the IC. So he's gonna join his boy BB as a fucking war criminal. And recently, they killed some Trinidadians who had nothing to do with the drug game out of Venezuela. So I wonder what happened between him and the Venezuelan president. They're both pieces of shit. But you alluded to it earlier. ICE and the military are still marching through cities. He has a hard on for Chicago, and someone brought it up the other day saying, "Do you think it's because Chicago is Obama's home city?" And I'm like, "Well, damn." And it just goes to show that
And
Obama's
it's run by a black man. It's run by an intelligent black man
and a white man who's not bowing down to you, who's richer than
because
you.
he's rich enough that he could tell you no.
Yeah. So Portland sued, oh my god, the naked bike ride in Portland. Girl, Portland was trolling his ass. Portland wasn't under siege. Portland is just fucking weird, okay? I didn't
Always.
really
Always.
They living in Texas, they say
That's
keep
hippie
Austin.
capital. That's hippie capital.
Thank you. They say keep Austin weird, so we're used to Austin weird. I wasn't quite used to Portland weird. And so, yeah, you might wanna leave them crazy motherfuckers in Portland alone. A judge ruled that, he can't send the National Guard there. Chicago, Illinois, they're suing. And that kind of brings me to speaking of suing, and we talked about it earlier. One of the reasons why I don't think that 2026 or 2028 are going to turn out the way that we want them to. Although I'm kind of optimistic, I think all of this is going to backfire on the Republicans because I think they're underestimating just how mad people are. And I'm not talking about the MAGA Republicans that you keep interviewing to tell you how you're so great. You're always going to
The
have that
other side.
20% of the people, whatever, 30%, which I think is still way too fucking high. But you've pissed off everyday Republicans. Even your Treasury Secretary, who is a sycophant and one of the authors of this bullshit, knows that your shit is fucking up the economy. The other day, when the stock market tanked, someone insider trading made $2 billion off of crypto because just some bullshit. But what I'm getting to, that all leads me back to the big case, one of the big cases the Supreme Court heard, which they keep trying to put off. They originally heard this case, I think, last year, a couple years ago, and they asked for another round of oral arguments, which just came back. And it goes along with the whole gerrymandering thing and my bad, they don't want to call it gerrymandering, the redistricting. Louisiana versus Calais, which is attacking the second section 2 of of what remains of the Voting Rights Act, where ethnic minorities have to have basically a shot at representation. They have to have districts that represent them. They have to be able to elect people who represent them. Not saying that that's always going to happen, but that was the whole idea behind it. Anyway, girl, was it keg stand bread or keg stand bread or Gorsuch who asked, "Well, isn't that discriminating against white people?" I'm like, "Oh, we've so fucking cooked. So fucking cooked." So, the Voting Rights Act discriminates against white people who've historically had everything handed to them on a fucking silver platter in this country. Allowing minorities to vote discriminates, and not only to vote, but to have the opportunity to vote for someone who looks like them and be represented by them, someone who has their best interests. So basically, if you're in a predominantly black district or neighborhood or city, wouldn't you want someone who is from that area, who looks like you, who understands what's going on in that area to represent you, to have your best interest at heart? But that's discriminating against white people. So, yeah, that go again, when y'all are asking me why I said what I said, and I was telling everybody not to seem alarmist, but this shit is bad. It's not just gonna be another 4 years, and in 4 years.
The reason why I didn't get on that train early on is because not because of the executive branch or the legislative branch, but because I'll be honest, I still had faith in the judicial branch. I still felt that even as y'all supported what you supported, that the law is the law, right? And y'all are the ones who interpret the laws of the land. And I just have faith that history, not history, wrong word, but the knowledge that they gain throughout their career would show them that sometimes you gotta vote a different way, right? So it's kinda like with what is the name of the court during the '40s, I forget. During the civil rights, shutdown, when it was Brown v. Board of Education. I forgot. It's gonna come up to me after we're
I
done.
forgot who was chief justice of that court. I forgot.
Yeah, but so, like, looking at that and knowing that they understood the necessity for ending segregation, they understood the necessity for ending Jim Crow, right? The Jim Crow era. And so no matter what you felt, right, you have to vote the way of the people, right? Because your interpretation is supposed to make sure that our rights are not violated. That is the role of the judicial branch, is to make sure that the rights of the people are not violated. And so I just did not think that that branch would fall. And it wasn't necessarily my faith in the Supreme Court, it was my faith in all the federal judges under the Supreme Court. And they're holding it down, but the Supreme Court is shooting down every decision made by those federal judges now.
And the
And
federal judges are,
that's where it's shifted for me.
and they're doing yeoman's work, but knowing how this court was put up, knowing who basically paid for this court, and seeing some of the ways they ruled even under Biden, when they basically ruled that this motherfucker could do whatever he wanted as long as he could prove it was in the purview of his job, I was like, what the fuck? And they ruled that during Biden. Now, whether or not they did that to try to protect him from prosecution because they didn't think he would be reelected, I don't know. But that is still something that you actually ruled on. And the way they keep trying to kick shit or ignore shit and then kick it back down to the federal courts, but then low-key threatening the federal courts, like, "How dare you try to overrule us?" Like, "Fuck you. Y'all aren't kings either." And so I like I said before, I knew when Biden was reluctant, people had too much faith in the system. When he was reluctant to make
Expand the
moves
fucking court.
to expand the court, I kinda knew we were cooked. And I would tell people it's not a political thing as much as it is a constitutional thing. I'm not looking for you to expand it, just give the number of districts that we have. We have 13 federal districts, you should have 13 federal judges. But so I have little faith, no faith in this Roberts court, especially when Clarence Thomas, a man who's never said shit publicly for years since he'd been on the court, he'd always been a fucking disaster, but he was a low-key disaster, right? He would always say the most asinine shit in his rulings, but never would he say it out loud. He would go talk to his little closed door, whatever. But when this man is going on the record saying shit, it's like, how fucked are we? You know? And then it's like you're saying shit like precedent should be overturned, like Loving. Well, don't you realize that would fucking affect you too?
But it would be for future marriages, not
The
marriages
Voting
to happen.
Rights Act. I'm sorry. You're black. Harlan Crow can give you as much money in the world as he has. Harlan Crow can give you his whole fucking fortune. It won't change the fact that you're fucking black,
He ain't that black though.
you know? And it also won't change the fact that you're a black man married to a white fucking woman. So all this precedent and these civil rights things, they affect you too. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. And then they haven't said anything about him using the DOJ to go after his enemies. We talked about Comey the last time. Since then, he's gone after Letitia James. And Bondi and the DOJ had nothing to do with that. He installed his own special attorney in New York who was his lawyer, one of his personal lawyers or something, and she did that on her own without any guidance, permission, or any knowledge from the DOJ. And then they indicted Bolton on 18 charges, and he pled not guilty. So yeah, like I said, we're cooked. I have no faith in the justice system at this moment.
I agree, but I will say also that although it's not as many as we need, I so appreciate the fact that states are slower than they should be, because they should be way faster about this, are stepping up.
Mhm.
And I will say that it's thanks to, I don't care how you feel about him, but it is thanks to the fact that Gavin Newsom has stood 10 toes down on making Trump's life a living fucking hell.
Dollar
Knowing
Tree
that,
Fritz for the win.
because remember when we first talked, the conversation was California is like Harvard. And if California bent the knee, no state would be able to stand up. And I so appreciate the fact that Gavin Newsom understood that, understood the power that California has as the richest and most populated state in the country. The fact that the federal government, no matter what, however, people want to look at it, the federal government doesn't survive without the money that comes from California. Okay. Over 25 states does not survive without the money that comes from California. And so the fact that he stands up, you see other governors is like, bet, okay, I got to fight for my people. You fight for your people, let me fight for my people. Like we good. So I do appreciate that. And then also the judges that are trying, they trying so hard to do their fucking job. And it's just really, really difficult. But I will say, just to kind of like, for everything that we've already talked about, what I will say is that people who say they messing with their legacy, oh, wait till they get to, the gates or however they want to name it. And I just want to say outright, these people don't fucking care what happens to them after they die. They don't care about their legacy. They don't. They don't care about how you talk about them after they're dead. They don't care. They don't care about where they're going after they're dead. They don't care if they're going to hell or they're going to heaven. They don't care. Y'all need to stop looking at this as in they should care about their legacy. This is Robert's legacy. Robert don't fucking care about his legacy. He cares about the here and now. That's what he cares about. He cares about the money that he's making. That's what he cares about. These people don't care about their legacy. Please stop talking like, oh, they messing with the legacy. The history books is gonna show the truth. They don't care. Like
Thank you.
I gotta say that they don't. They don't care what the history book says about them. They'll be dead.
And if it's up
They
to
don't
them,
care.
there won't be any history books. But speaking
Right.
of legacy, one thing that Trump won't ever get under his legacy is that Nobel Peace Prize that he been out there trying to pimp for. They did close the Gaza deal. And again, before I say this, let me
Fake
say I'm
deal.
glad
It's a
that
fake
it's
deal.
quote unquote over. But this is basically the same deal that Biden proposed that Bibi turned down because, in his words, he didn't want Biden to get the win. So you're probably asking why now? Why now is because Bibi, in all of his hubris, was blowing up shit in Egypt and Qatar. The same Egypt that bought Trump's first election, and he probably still owes a fuck ton of money and favors to. And the same Qatar that he gave that he got that $400 million plane from, where they're allowing him to build that ugly ass Goff whatever, who basically owns the other part of one of his ball sacks, if he can still find them. And so my assumption is the conversation went a little something like this: "Bitch, if you don't tell that motherfucker to stop blowing up our shit, you gonna have hell to pay." So Trump got somebody to call Bibi and said, "Yo, we need to end this now because Qatar and Egypt ain't having it. And I done already told Qatar that if something happens to them, you attack them again, I'ma have to attack you because I went and got ahead of my skis and gave them pseudo NATO privileges, even though they not NATO privileges. So if you attacking Qatar, then you attacking us. And oh yeah, we gave them a fucking Air Force base in the fucking United States of America in Idaho. So the Gaza deal has been brokered. They're giving Palestinians back their country, although there is literally nothing left for them to fucking inhabit. Qatar has a fucking Air Force base in the United States of America, which they sent Jabba the Hutt on TV to gaslight us again and say, oh no, Hegseth misspoke. But those were Hegseth's exact words. Hegseth said that he misspoke and that they're just going to house planes in Idaho. But here's my thing. How are they housing Qatari planes if there's no one to fly fucking Qatari planes? Again, we are either giving them part of our Air Force base in Idaho, or we are allowing them to build an Air Force base in Idaho, a country who we know has sponsored terrorism against the United States. A country who we know was directly involved financially, at the very least, in 9/11. A country who Mango Mushroom has said himself was a sponsor of state-sponsored terrorism, or a perpetrator of state-sponsored terrorism. So yeah, when asked about why Trump did not get the Nobel Prize, the homeboy said, because we only nominate and choose people of integrity and courage. I completely 100% support that message. You got anything to add to that bullshit?
So again, let's get into the history. The United States has never allowed a foreign nation, ally or enemy, to have a base on our lands.
Our fucking NATO allies do not have bases on our fucking soil.
This goes with the fact that the United States has the most bases on foreign land of any country. I understand that. But it has been a rule since the beginning of our history that no foreign nation can have a stronghold in our country. And once again, another sign that this is a dictatorship and that our country, our democracy, and our president will always be up for sale is the fact that not only is he letting a foreign nation have an air base in our country, he's allowing a foreign nation from an area of the world that we had been in a semi-Cold War with for decades to come into our country and have their planes. And the fact that people are still making excuses, the same people that always want to remind people of 9/11 are okay with this, is another scary shit to see because it doesn't make sense. It's not about the person that I am. It is not about the fact that they are a Muslim nation. It's about the fact that the United States as a nation, being as racist as we are, I don't care what anybody says, is being as Islamophobic as we are. We can see that from the New York mayor elections going on right now. That we would allow the first country to have an air base in our country to be a Middle Eastern country. Makes no fucking sense. Out of all the countries, we're going to choose an area that we have been the forefront of destruction for decades. And nobody thinks anything about that? Nobody finds that a little suspicious? We're selling our souls so that the president can get richer at his 80-year fucking self. And then his sons and his daughter and her husband can get richer. And they can continue to perpetuate or continue to pass down this wealth that they have to children that they are raising to be just like them. And what do we get for it? America first, patriotism, to know that you can go to Idaho and you can see a military base with a foreign plane on it, and we're not supposed to think anything of it. But God forbid I need to go to the hospital and have surgery and I can't afford it and I need you to help me pay for it. God forbid that I have student loans that I can't afford because you keep jacking up my interest rate to the point where I owe more than I ever took out and I need some help, but you can't give me no money for that. But our president of the United States can sell his soul and sell the soul of the nation to everybody who's willing to pay him off. Don't people find that weird? Like, I just, the president of the United States sells us access to us, the United States of America.
It's a violation of the Hatch Act. Like, what he is doing is fundamentally constitutionally illegal. It's not hyperbolic. It's not a hypothesis. It's not me being a conspiracy theorist. It's all fucking illegal. And the people, I'm sick of being gaslit. Okay.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
I'm sick of you trying to, or you trying to gaslight me. And when I tell you it's wrong, no, it is wrong. Like, we should be fucking screaming with our hair on fire. Like, y'all are, like, no one was prepared for this. But you, and here's the thing, I hope. If and when, because it's not going to last forever. Okay. This isn't Russia. It's not one of those countries where it's going to last forever. It's going to last and it's going to hurt. It's going to be a minute. But when we get out of this, I'm going to need people to get over their short-term memory loss. I'm going to need people, like I told some people the other day, elections are not about your feelings. Fuck your feelings. It's about you taking the time in this age of Chat GPT where you could look up anything, Google anything. It's about you taking the fucking time to do your research and trying to find out which person best aligns with your views and who you think would do the best job. You're not always going to agree with them. It's not a fucking popularity contest, but you need to figure out who's going to do the best job for the country. And as a country, that means the community. Everything that affects someone else is not going to affect me. In November, the people who are going to fucking lose their SNAP benefits, that doesn't affect me personally, but it affects me here.
Mhm.
It affects me here because I know that those are children. And I know that the majority of those are children, single mothers, whatever. And despite what,
Veterans,
I'm sorry, elderly,
veterans, yeah.
veterans, elderly, and despite what people want to tell you, despite what is in the biased brain, what we've been ingrained to believe, most of those people don't look like me. Most of those people look like this. But I don't care about that. I care about people in this country going hungry unnecessarily so. I care that you have gotten rid of the database that records hunger because if it's not there on paper, if you have nothing that records hunger data, then you can't say you have anybody hungry in this country. Like, make it make sense. This man went in for his annual physical
Yeah.
and he got the fucking COVID vaccine, the flu shot, the RSV vaccine, but he has a Secretary of Health and Human Services who are telling you these things are horrible and bad for you.
This man
I
could have
went
had
to
a
my
stroke and
doctor,
they don't say anything.
I got the flu shot, but mysteriously, she didn't have any COVID vaccines. 'Cause they didn't send her they hadn't sent, and I'm like, so I'm just like, make it make sense, people, like, wake the fuck up, and next time, Imma need y'all to vote, I don't know, with your head or your heart, because both of them seem to be fucked up.
It's not what I need people to do, because when we get out of this, because I agree with you. I think, at some point we're gonna get out of this, but when we do, it's going to take us at minimum, people need to understand 10 years to fix what has been broken. It's gonna take us 10 years to start fixing what has been broken. So that means that if we were to have elections in 2028 and you vote, you need to vote against every single person that has played a role in this, in the destruction of this country. And then 2 years after that, you have to still vote that way. And then 2 years after that, you have to still vote that way. And that is where the danger is because, like you said, short term memory. People forget what got us here. They forget what got us here. They forgot in 4 years what his first administration was like. And that's when he had people who were stopping him from doing the extreme. And they voted for it anyway because you believe the stereotypes that a woman would be too emotional to lead. Then I say this all the time when people be want to talk about it. Every single war in the history of the world has been started by a man.
And she wouldn't be
Every
rage
major war. Huh?
and she wouldn't be rage tweeting at 3 o'clock in the morning about how Time made her look on the cover.
And she wouldn't be selling us out. She wouldn't be selling us out. She wouldn't be selling us out to her children. She wouldn't be selling us out to her cronies. She wouldn't be selling us out to Israel. She wouldn't have sold us out to
Oh,
Israel, but
that
her
would have been
Jewish
BB.
husband. Yeah.
That would have been BB and Putin's worst nightmare. Both wars
Yeah.
would be over, but they wouldn't be over the way people thought they would be over,
Mhm.
you know?
So,
So,
yeah,
I just yeah. Okay, let's move on. Sports and entertainment. You got anything else for the political session? Which
absolutely not.
n
Yeah, it
that
is what it
yeah.
is.
Okay, Aces. The Aces won their 4th championship in 3 years. So
Asia Wilson.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say, look, we don't need to ask the question. Yes, they are a fucking dynasty. Get the fuck over it.
Mhm,
Okay? Becky Hammon, she came from Greg Popovich's coaching tree. She coached in the NBA under when she worked with the Spurs, and she left that job to take this job. Some people say she may have been the first female head coach in the NBA. Dawn Staley, who interviewed for the Knicks job, she says she doesn't know that they're quite ready for it. And she said the only way she would leave South Carolina is to take an NBA job, not a WNBA job, but an NBA job.
mhm.
So yes, it is a fucking dynasty. Becky is a fucking legend. Asia is the motherfucking GOAT. And before y'all just say, oh, that's me and my bias. No, she is being talked about with Bill Russell. She compares to Bill Russell, the fucking Bill Russell. The only ball players, male or female, man or woman, to have won 3 championships, 3 MVPs within a 4-year span. Only 2 people have done it, Asia and the great Bill Russell. Not Kobe, not Michael, not Braun, not Steph, Asia and Mr. Russell. This is my pen.
Yeah, mic drop. That's a mic drop, like, we good.
Mic
We
drop.
good. And when we talked about it last time, and I was just like, "I'm for, the Aces, and I'm for Asia Wilson," because that girl can ball. That woman can ball. She is, like
And real
and the
talk,
fact that she understands because she has her off moments. What people need to recognize is when she has her off moments when she's playing and she gets into her head, all right? And Becky goes to her and says, if you don't get back on that court and do what the fuck I know you can do, we're gonna have some real problems when we go back in that locker room. And she's
yeah,
like,
I'm not the
uh,
only one. Becky be threatening their asses.
yeah.
Becky's a game.
And she was like, I got you. And however it's worded, she goes back on that court and she shows why she is the greatest player. She
Because
goes on that
Becky is
court and she shows why she's the GOAT, all right? And she gets into her head. That's what people need to understand is that you're not great. Like you're not gonna play your best game all the time 24/7. Like you're not gonna play your best game all the time. But she knows how to bounce back quick. That's a skill. And so it's good that she's being recognized for that because I love it. I love it.
I do too. And now that the season's over, the focus is the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. And I also hope that when all is said and done, they get a new president of the WNBA.
Yeah, she need to go
Is
home.
trash, and the ladies deserve better.
And they
Or
hired another male coach. Did you see that they hired another male coach for the Portland Fire?
I did not.
So they're talking about how now all these teams, they're not hiring women to be the coaches, right? So every time they fire one of the women's coaches, the women coach, they're hiring a man to replace. So these the new teams that are coming in, the Portland Fire, they hired a male coach to, and he came from the NBA. Okay, he was an assistant coach in the NBA. I forgot which team, but yeah, another male coach. Okay, I'm saying that, how is it that there are more male coaches than women coaches in the WNBA? Like that makes no sense. Like how is that? And then these are men who are not winning. How is it that it's the men that are not winning, but they're not getting fired for not winning, but the women are?
The one man that did get fired for not winning, which I think was stupid, was the dude in Dallas. It was his first fucking year. And Dallas is bottom of the bucket barrel trash. You've got to give people time to turn around a franchise.
Mhm.
The way you fired the coach in New York sits bad with me, and I like players on the Liberty, but I'm not a Liberty fan, but that was just bullshit. It's the only thing standing in between the Aces and a four-peat, and she's gotten her team to the playoffs. Stewie was hurt. Ionescu didn't have a great series. It's like so, yeah, I think that, the W at its height of popularity, they need to do some things to clean up a few things that are tarnishing the league at the moment when it's inopportune. But I do love how the women stick together. I do love how they will call shit out, and so I hope that they get what they deserve. I truly do. So we'll be keeping an eye on that story. The Dodgers are headed to the World Series. First time I think you have the opportunity for back-to-back World Series winners since the Yankees did it a long time ago. One of the thing and I love the Dodgers are my huh? I don't think the Astros won back-to-back. I think they won 1 and then they didn't
Wait,
win the
no, they didn't win back to back, but they were able to go to the World Series back
2
to back,
back-to-back,
and they
yeah.
just lost okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, one of the things the Yankees are my second favorite team behind the Yankees, so I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. It was painful the last couple years watching them play for each other. That's the only reason why I'm not still in a heat pile is because when they did lose, they lost to the Dodgers. But, um, so Shohei, who is just a phenomenal player, he was slumping this series, right? And so he just come back from Tommy John's. He'd been pitching sporadically this season. They saved him more for the postseason. And I always said that if he wanted to pitch, I would probably use him as a relief pitcher, right? Kind of save some of the wear and tear from starting on his elbow and all of that. That's just me. So there's this whole big thing up until now how Shohei, how the double player has lost its blah, how this is responsible for his slump, how he needs to choose one or the other, blah, 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 right? Girl, last night, Shohei goes up there and he shows the fuck out. 3 home runs, 10 strikeouts. The Dodgers win 5-1. Now, of course, the press
He said, "You can stop talking now. I'm good.
Thank you. He said, "Let me show you. They don't call me Shohei for nothing. I can show you better than I can tell you."
Tell you."
Baseball players slump, like they slump, right? He's a one of a kind player, the first player who's done this consistently since Babe Ruth. Personally, Babe is an ass, but he's a hell of a baseball player, whatever, right? But hey, I hate Babe Ruth as a person, but you can't deny his game. But so I'm just like, I was so happy that he was able to silence them because I'm like, first of all, it's baseball. They slump. Is it the most opportune time for him to slump? No, but the Dodgers didn't really need him to show out because they were up 3-0. And so they swept the series. Like the Dodgers were still being the Dodgers without him, right?
Mhm.
So last night when he went up there and he just showed the fuck out, I was like, go Shohei. So we're waiting to see if they're gonna play the Mariners or the Blue Jays. The Mariners are up in that series 3-2, so by our next show, we will be deep into the World Series. Hell, it might even be over, but we'll
That's more
know.
Eddie, than it is me, but yeah.
Yeah, but and so also something that's probably more me, speaking about coaches that were fired inopportunely or unfairly. James Franklin was the coach for Penn State. Penn State was predicted to play for the national championship. They were 1 game away from that. Notre Dame, go Irish, stopped them from playing for the national championship last year, right? So they lost. They lost a big game to Oregon. Oregon was like the number 5 team in the nation. Penn State was number 2 when they lost to Oregon. It was a big game. They had a whiteout game, whatever, right? Then they turn around and they lost again. They lost another game to an unranked team, Illinois. And then their star quarterback got hurt and they lost that game. So Penn State, now this is his first, and it can't even say it's a losing season, but it's a season that's not turning out the way so far you wanted it to turn out, right?
Mhm.
So they fired the man. Still owe him $49 million and fired him 6 games in. You were 3 and 3.
Uh, the
Just lost
I'm
your
at the
star fucking
49
quarterback.
million.
Huh?
I'm at the 49 million,
Still
like
owe the man 40, and remember, after the whole big Joe Pa scandal that tarnished his legacy, Um, and that whole scandal, he was the only one willing to come in and kinda take the job when Penn State was going through all of that bullshit.
Mhm.
They had some other coaches, but they weren't, they weren't Penn State. And so he turned the program around. And my thing is that, and after they lost that last game, I did tell my mom, I said, "Oh, they're gonna fire him." I said I wouldn't be surprised if they fired him. I was thinking at the end of the season. I was thinking this was going to be his last full season. I wasn't expecting to wake up the next morning and coming across my phone was James Franklin fired.
He did
So,
what he was hired to do, I guess.
yeah,
That's
but you
my
still owe him
gosh.
$49 million.
That's just like when, they trade, like, certain, players, and then they have to find a team that be willing to take, the rest of their contract, and then sometimes they don't, and they still have to pay that
Oh, no,
player,
they don't.
so they still have to pay that player even after they trade him, um, out his contract, just trying to get rid of him, and I just be like, "That is c." I don't know why I wasn't a coach. I shoulda,
Thank you.
like, 'cause they're making buku, buku
$49 million.
money.
So,
Fuck.
and then just something that makes my heart go boom, 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 boom. Someone kinda clocked didn't kinda, someone clocked Stephen A's loud ass tea. So, when Serena went on the Super Bowl was at the Super Bowl and she crip walked to Not Like Us, and Stephen A got up there in his loud, most obnoxious voice talking about what he would do if that was his wife and how she would be at home and how that proves she's still in love with Drake and blah, 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 just yapping. So last week, Alexis, who his name needs to be Alexis, I don't play about me and mine, O'Hanan,
At all.
was on First Take. And Steven wasn't in the studio, but he was still there via video, right? And so Alexis basically said, I heard you had some advice for me, like, pull up, motherfucker. And Steven went to him and I, what? No, I ain't never been married.
I don't know what you talking about, what?
Sound like Yosemite sound like a motherfucker. And it's talking about, well, I heard you had some advice for me. And he goes, some marriage advice. I ain't never been married. Why I'm giving marriage advice? And Alexis said, well, yeah, because I can advise on how to build billion-dollar companies because I've built billion-dollar companies. And I know to stay in my lane. It's basically like, well, motherfucker, if you ain't never been married, who the fuck are you try to give me some marriage advice? And I'm like,
Man, he really, he put him in his place real quick,
and
immediately.
then the next motherfucker on that list was Charlemagne the Fraud. Got him too. So, but yeah, and I'm so happy that someone shut him down because just like most loudmouths, when you call them out, they get
They
real
start
quiet.
stuttering.
And how do I put this? I think Bakari Seller said it best. He and Stephen A apparently have some beef, right? On one hand, how do I put this? I I'm not gonna say admire, maybe applaud for the platform that he's built, the reach that he has in a mostly white male dominated field. Having said that, I disagree with his takes all the time. But wanting to support skin folk, even though I realize they're not all kinfolk, I I want, on one hand, to be proud of him and acknowledge his accomplishments. Him opening his fucking mouth makes it so hard. I get his sports takes. That's his brand. He's always said shit that was off the cuff. That was what got people to pay attention, right? But it gets to a point where once you've got their attention, now why do you still have to be so loud and wrong all the fucking time and so
Give him
obnoxious about it? That's even from the sports platform. I don't listen to his fucking podcast or his political show now because I know it's going to be that bullshit. And someone said he tries to walk the line between righteous and coonery. It comes across as straight coonery, especially when you're only talking about your people. It seems like he's trying to take Candace's role in being that one acceptable Black person who calls out other Black people, but can still try to hold quote unquote white people to account. Does that make sense?
it does.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Jamel Hill said it best. Like, she was never given that grace at ESPN. Even when she said shit that wasn't on ESPN,
She was still held to a different standard.
you still held to a different standard. Hell, we all know she lost her job at ESPN because of what she said about mango mushroom.
Mhm.
And even when she was on writing just for other things or doing her podcast or her own show, it would always follow her back to ESPN. But it never follows him back. They seem to embrace it. And for him to be one of the highest paid people in sports and for him to have the platform that he has, I'm not saying that he can't have different views, but his views seem disingenuous to me. For you to be as smart as you claim you are, considering some of the stuff that you've said earlier, what's changed besides the money? The and since money is involved, I can say that you've sold out.
Mhm. I agree.
Because politically, before now, sports, he's always been an obnoxious ass, and I dismissed a lot of that as the brand, the loud, the blah, blah, blah. Politically, though, we got the receipts. We can go back to when you were not agreeing with this. And so I'm just like, so now you're on the grift train. And the things that you should be talking about, giving your platform. And now I get it. You can disagree. Again, I'm not expecting homogeny. I'm not expecting compliance. I'm not expecting 100% agreement on everything. But for you to consistently call out Black women, you can even disagree with the delivery. But to dismiss the message and the identity politics, the popularity politics, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
I'm with Alexa, stay in your lane. If this is what we're gonna get from you, stay in your lane, keep being loud
We
and
don't
wrong
want
about
it. We
sports,
don't want it.
you
We
know,
okay. We don't need your opinion.
we don't. Because again, this if ever there was a time for a purple revolution or a gray revolution amongst our people, then now this would be the time.
Mhm.
Because, bro, at the end of the day, you gonna learn Tiger's lesson. The lesson he still hasn't fucking learned. When you run into that tree because your wife is chasing you out the house, they always gonna believe her story because of who
Mhm.
he is. And he's not married, but you know what I'm saying. No matter how much you tap and you dance and you shuck and you jive, at the end of the day, you gonna be that person they were talking about in that signal track. At the end of the day, you gonna be Vivek, Ramzan, whatever.
Mhm.
You just gonna be another token house dancing, shucking, and jiving. And then once you've we are forgiving people, but we aren't a forgetful people. And I think the days for forgiving and forgetting are gone. You gonna find that
They
you
done.
ain't gonna have nobody or nothing to come back to. Hey,
'Cause they don't want you, and we don't want you either.
mm-mm, not at all. Not at all. Speaking of the Super Bowl, Drake's lawsuit was dismissed. The judge said, cry somewhere else, bitch. I'm sorry, that's just not I mean, who the fuck files a lawsuit? It's like going home and tell your mama that you was out there playing the dozens with somebody and they said a your mama joke and they pushed you down. Like, you started it, he finished it. End of the
he just wanted to, he was a little bit of a Karen,
Mhm.
because he was raised by Karen. So he became a Karen. He was in his feelings, like, he and not realizing that the fact that you did this, I don't know who told him that he was going to be able to maintain his level of popularity by going after Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar is for the community. He's for the culture, all right? You never were, okay? You are what we sent out to kind of allow them to be able to think that they were cool because they listened to you. Kendrick Lamar made himself extremely successful off of the culture. You made yourself successful by playing into the role with the European Americans. That's what you did. That's what you did.
And
Like,
I
you did that with their support. Kendrick did it with our support.
Yeah, and I think when for me, when he lost it is when he really started leaning into that whole misogyny shit, the bullshit, because I'm not gonna lie, I was a Drake fan in the beginning of his career. Take Care is still one of my favorite albums of
Yeah,
his, no skips.
I agree.
But when he just here recently, when he started leaning into that whole misogyny, trying to be hard, that's not you. And the more you start hearing about stuff, okay, him and the weekend, he put the weekend on, we know that. But then once you hear about the falling out with the weekend, okay, it happens. People have disagreements. But then you start to hear more and more about how he is and how people in the industry start thinking about him. You fall out with B and J. Well, it's Beyonce. They don't just collaborate with anybody. She doesn't just collaborate with anybody. So if she
At
collaborated with
all.
you,
Like,
it
it's
it
on
meant something,
purpose.
right? And so it's just like the more you hear about the stuff behind the scenes and who he is and how it's like, okay, so it's not them, it's you. It's something with you. And that spills over. And I think this whole you feeling like you had a point to prove, listening to the people who said you weren't hard. You didn't come out to be hard. You was the party man. You made just good party music, the singing, rapping type thing. Stay in your lane. When you went to that other shit, it was bad. So speaking of and it must be something with that One Money crew, Young Money crew, because Nicki, I guess she listened to Cardi when Cardi told her they was robbing her blind, and I guess she was crack tweeting about people been using her American Express behind her back, and she didn't know, and talking about it's been going on for years, and I'm like, "Baby, that's nothing I would put." So basically, you co-signing what your arch enemy said about people robbing you blind.
Why are you telling your business like that?
And so and I was like, "Alright," and she says now she's also not gonna release her follow-up to Pink Friday 2. Oh, no, so sad. This is me and my heart breaking. But the Barbs, I guess, are heartbroken, but then somehow it has something to do with Jay-Z being the reason why she wasn't releasing it, and I'm like, maybe because it's cracked out trash?" I tried to like Nicki Minaj, and I think Pink Friday was the one that I could get to, the original one when she first came out, but I always called her a poor man's Lady Gaga when she was dressing all weird and shit, and I so I appreciated what she was doing for hip hop, but again, especially for women, because at the time she was the only one really out there, right? But then once you start hearing the rumors, she dogs everybody else. She doesn't want to pay homage. She doesn't want to give flowers and credit to Queen Latifah, to Missy, to Lil Kim. Like, bitch, they
Mhm.
crawled so you could fucking walk. So it's like, okay, the more you hear about, like, well, you're not that good to have that attitude anyway. And after that, all your shit starts sounding the same. So, and then you just married that fucking petal to let me know you lost your complete damn mind. But yeah, so she's also being sued for $500,000 and they trying to make it so she has to sell her house. Your house is valued at $20 million and you gonna be forced out your $20 million home to pay a $500,000 judgment. Girl, if you don't come off that 5,000, 500, although she might not have it if I'm keeping it.
Like, that's what I was thinking. I said, "Are they fighting so hard because she don't have it?" And, like, we can say as much as possible or, "Nikki, you got the money, you rich." How do we know that? How do we know that? Because, a lot of these artists don't actually have the money. A lot of this is paid for by their record label. They're spending money, they're in a lot of debt, in order to keep up this lifestyle that they're supposed to display. So, how do we know that she has the money to pay the $500,000? Like, we don't know how. I wouldn't be surprised if Nikki is not as rich as we've been led to believe.
Thank you, especially when you married to a leech who keeps you coked up. So he can spend
Exactly.
all your money on that fake Bronx jewelry. And then Prince Andrew had to well, he gave up his titles apparently willingly. I'm gonna say he had to because he found out Charles ain't his mama. Charles hates your ass. And Virginia Giuffre, All Roads Leading Back to Epstein, her memoir came out posthumously, and Andrew has a starring role in it. Apparently, he was one of her favorites. No, she was one of his favorites, excuse me. And so there were several encounters that were mentioned, and he has apparently some sort of freaky foot fetish. But
Not surprised. I'm not surprised. It's the
yeah,
royal
so
family. Not
he gave up
surprised.
he finally gave up his titles, which is what Charles wanted initially. If Charles had his way, they would have never settled. It all would have came out then, but Queenie, when she was alive, she protected her darling pedophile son. So, I think he's realizing that no one in the crown or what do they call him, the firm? No one in the firm is going to protect him like
Protect
that.
him at all. Not at
So,
all. Bye.
what do you think of Kevin Federline's new book that's gonna come out about his time with Britney?
I don't like it. I think that he's a leech, and I think that the fact that, she no longer has to pay him the money that she was paying him when the children were, I think, under the age of 18, they've aged out of her paying child support. Um, he has to figure out another way to leech off of her because that man has not had a job since he got with her. And he has lived off of her money his whole entire life. And so now that the money is not still raking in, he is figuring out another way to leech off of her. I don't think that it should be allowed, just like I do not think that it is right that her children that she gave birth to, even as she was going through what she was going through, he villainized her to her kids to the fact of they disrespect her on a daily basis and act like she's not their mother and that she didn't have a hard time. And I'm not to say that, she's okay and everything like that. And she still makes, crazy decisions. I kind of based on the fact of when she had her breakdown, she was young. And so she's never going to recover from what she experienced after her breakdown or during her breakdown. But he's a leech, and I don't care like he's a leech, and he needs to go because the only reason why you're writing this book is because you're no longer getting thousands of dollars out of her every single month for those two children that you raised. Nothing. And you raise them with a hatred for their mother. Like they're disrespectful to their mom. And that is only, you can only chalk that up to the fact that you fed them that, right? You never protected her role as their mother while you were raising her sons. Never once. And so that's the reason why they can disrespect their mother and act like she's nothing to them, even though she's paid for every damn thing that they've ever had in their life. Sorry.
Um, I I don't disagree with what you said. However, having said that, I'm going to almost play devil's advocate because he's not my favorite person at all. But I do give him props for raising the boys. And I get it. It was probably for the money. Let's not pretend like even under the conservatorship that she was okay. There was the incident with her father at her house where he was abusive toward the boys and CPS had to come get them during a visit. Let's not act like her dad did not keep her doped up and so she could keep performing and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think even under the conservatorship, her home would have been a healthy place for them. And I'm not disputing anything you said. So I give him credit for that. I also give him credit for the duration of his kids. At least, let me put it this way, at least he's waiting till they're grown to do this. He could have done it any time before.
He didn't have to,
And
cause
I
he
get
had
it.
her money. Cause he had her
I
money,
get
he
it.
didn't have to.
I get it. And I'm not, and like I said, I'm not disputing anything you said. And I realize that this is probably an unpopular opinion, and I can own that. I do not necessarily agree. I'm with you, but he has the right to tell his story. And we know it's for the money. We do. And I'm not disputing that. But he did say one thing I do agree with. And I think it's something that everyone has kind of tried to ignore, especially since she's been out of her conservatorship. But Britney Spears is not okay. The first few weird videos when she came out of the conservatorship, it was like, okay, she's just being free. But she's not okay. And I don't think that necessarily she needs another conservatorship. I just think she needs people in her life who are able to convince her that she's not okay and that she does need help. And I understand her skittishness against all of that because of what she was subjected to in the name of quote unquote getting help all those years under, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So I don't necessarily agree with it, but I respect the fact that he did at least wait till the kids were grown to tell the story. I think he has the right to tell his story. I will not be reading his story, but I don't disagree with you that this is about the money and it's a money grab. And yeah, it's
I think
just
that's
sad.
I think that's why I think that's why I don't think he should have the opportunity to tell his story. And the reason why is because he's gonna tell it in a way for the money grab, for the money. I hate the fact I don't care that he stepped up and he raised those boys. I don't care. And the reason why he shouldn't get credit for that is because you raised them to not respect their mother, the person who financially supported them their whole fucking life. And when she was going through what she was going through, he did not raise his sons to have sympathy for the fact that their mother was mentally incapable of taking care of herself. He didn't raise them to want to, when she finally was out of that situation, to want to step up to make sure that their mother never got back into that situation. He raised them to be greedy little leeches like him. That's the honest truth. The fact that they still leech off of their mother, and when she decided that she was no longer going to support them and she cut them off, what was the decision that they made? They fully came behind and supported their father on whatever decision that he made to continue leeching off of a woman who's not mentally 100% there. And that is the honest truth. And so you don't get credit for raising your children when you raise your children to hate the woman who you leached off of. Am raised in a single mother. And the whole entire time that my mother raised me, never said a bad, negative word about my father. And he was a bastard and he was a shithead. And she never once opened her mouth and spoke a negative word about that man because her mindset was when you grow up and you become an adult, you will figure it out on your own. And I'm going to let you do that because I don't ever want it to be that he can look you in the face and say, that's all your mother. That's what your mother said. And then he can twist what she has said about him in order to make himself look better. Kevin Federline did not do that with those children that he raised. All right. Instead, what he did is he bitched and he moaned about that woman their whole entire fucking life until the time that they no longer respect the woman who gave birth to them. She gave birth to them and she was in their life when they were younger. I understand. She had a mental breakdown and they take none of that into consideration. It's okay. Like, I understand she's not 100% there. She will never be the same again. It's true. Britney Spears will never be the same again. I do not think that no matter how much therapy that she has, that she will ever be she will ever be fully healed. I agree with that. But that man who's writing a book about that because she no longer is giving him thousands of dollars for doing nothing. This man moved to Hawaii in order to try to get around the fact that when his sons turned 18 years old, he was going to get not a dime, nickel, or penny out of her again. And moved to Hawaii. He moved to Hawaii because their age is 21 years old. And so, because the age for aging out of paying child support is 21 years old in Hawaii, he moved his kids to Hawaii trying to figure out a way to continue the thousands of dollars that he was getting out of that woman. And it didn't work. It ended up not being able to work. He wasn't able to get that money. All right. So figuring out other ways to get it, you don't get fucking credit for raising children to hate their mother. You don't get credit and then want to drag her further under the bus when you did not help her at all. And I understand that like her father was a dangerous man, like fully get it. By that point, she was done. All right. But y'all was doing fucking drugs together when that woman was at the height of her career. You were doing drugs together. Okay. If she was doing coke, you was right there next to her sniffing that same shit. All right. And then all of a sudden, when she has a mental fucking breakdown from all the drugs that y'all did together, what did you do? You left her. You left her and you bounced out because you were a fucking leech when she first got with you and people told her not to marry you. You exactly what you were, manipulative little bastard. I'm sorry. I just can't because her kids are the same. He raised his children the way that he is. And the fact that they look at her with disgust and they talk about her like she's nothing to them. And yet you want her money. No, you don't get no leeway on writing a book about her and telling your story. Nobody stop it. Stop it. Because every single part of that book that he's going to write is going to be about her. Every single thing is going to be connected back to her. So once again, you are trying to make money off of her because she cut you off. Okay? That is the reason why. And so, no, your children is the same way. And I will continue to say she should have cut them off as soon as they first started to disrespect her when she got out of that situation. When they first started to show disrespect for her and they started to talk to her crazy, she should have cut them off right then and there. Financially cut them off. Say, you can get out the fuck out my house. And don't ever you come back here. I don't know you. Okay? That's what she should have done to them. And see where you live now. Because she still supports her sons. She just doesn't support him. He ain't getting that money, but her sons are still getting money from her. I'd have cut them off. Stop giving them a dime. They don't deserve it. They don't
When
deserve it because they don't like
when she first got out, I think they were still underage, but yeah, I
and
agree.
no, but they were manipulating her even when they were underage. They were playing her the whole time. That's when they started disrespecting her. That first time they would go and they would go see her and they started taking photos of her looking crazy and looking off, okay? And then spewing the nonsense that their father was spewing that whole time when she was in that situation. Yeah, your sons don't deserve a dime of your money either. Cut them off. Tell them to go live with their daddy and see how they going to survive. Because that book money is only going to last you but so long. What you going to do after that? What are you going to do after that? That anyway, I'm sorry.
Probably probably restart his rap career. Like I said, I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. I probably give him a little bit more credit than you do for certain things, but I don't have any arguments. Don't condone what I was saying as a cosign for him or thinking I'm a fan or I condone it. And I would definitely cut off my grown ass, disrespectful ass children as well. Okay, so our final thing, the one thing from last week. Oh my goodness, Taylor Swift. Let me clarify. I listened to the album when I first heard it. I liked it because it was a cursory listen. You know I do that. I'll listen to something, I'm like, "Okay." And it sounded better than the Dead Poets Society. I know that's not the name of the album, but the Tortured Poets Club or whatever it was, Tortured Poets, which was torturing because I couldn't even get through that. Like, I love me some Post Malone, and that song with her and Post Malone, I was like so this one, sonically, on first listen was more appealing, you know? And I hadn't had a chance to just break it down. And then we were talking, and I'm like, all these Swifties come out after, and I'm like, damn, even the Swifties hate it. So I had to go back and re-listen.
What's your thoughts, Eddie? I'm excited to hear what you think. I really am. You know
Aesthetically,
where I stand on everything.
aesthetically and sonically, it sounds better than
I mean, as sonically.
to the ears, the music,
Okay,
just
okay,
as far as listening. It
okay,
sounds
gotcha.
better than,
Her last album.
yeah, Dead Poet Society,
Okay.
which is a great movie, by the way. But so, taking into account what you said, although I still stand by she's a great songwriter. Her songwriting was not the best on this album. I'm going to agree. Once I got into it, the lyrics, she's too old to be taking pot shots at Travis's ex-girlfriends. He had a life before you. That relationship predated you in its beginning and end. It had nothing to do with you. They had been broken up for years by the time you even came into the picture. So for you to bring her up, I think is really childish and disingenuous because there was no overlap. You know what I'm saying? As soon as y'all got together, she and her someone she thought was a friend, a true friend, they stopped being friends, and that was Brittany Mahomes. Um, Patrick and Travis, they're like brothers. They really are, truly. And Brittany and Kayla, they were really close, and they were even friends. They remained friends after the breakup. But so that one, I was like, okay, that's childish. The song "Would" about you getting dickmatized or dick down, I get it, but for you to be who you are, you could have written it better, differently.
That's because she don't actually get digmatized. She not getting dick down.
Okay, here's my other thing, and I guess I'm going to agree. You can't walk the line between being a 17-year-old and a 35-year-old anymore. You're not that little girl. And I think, to me, I come and go with Taylor Swift in eras. I wasn't really her a big fan when she did the country music. I hated what Kanye did to her, but it didn't turn me into a Taylor stan, okay? I really started paying attention with Red. Red is a great album, even though it's about all about Jake Gyllenhaal, but it's a great album. Lyrically, I get it. You were still young, young 20s. After that, I would probably have to go with 1989. Good, it's a great album too. Tation is a really good one. And then after that, I'm like, okay, maybe she's peaked. This is just who she is. And I think 89 came after Reputation. Then I loved Folklore. I still play and listen to Folklore to this day. To me, that is no skips, just beginning to end. I love it. I wasn't crazy about Evermore. There's a couple songs on there. It just sounded like the B-sides to Folklore. So I don't go crazy over Evermore. Again, I'm thinking, but I thought Folklore was really the beginning of the adult Taylor Swift. I didn't like Lover. I think, like most true tortured song artists or songwriters, when you're happy, the music just isn't as great. Mariah Carey, Adele, Mary J. You know what I'm saying? Like, but and then so Midnights came out, and I think that kinda confirmed what we were both thinking, like, this is the turning point of Taylor Swift, because even you liked Midnights, and I remember our review on it, and we were just saying, "Okay, this is ushering in the adult Taylor." I didn't listen to Tortured Poets because it was about her brief relationship with Maddie Healy, and I thought it was ridiculous because you and Maddie have been off and on forever, and just because your friends caught him at one of his PR worst moments and it's like, whatever. Okay. So this album, like I said, just on the face, and for people who are thinking that were mad because it wasn't a showgirl, you knew as much showgirl as you were going to get from Taylor was from her promotion of the album, the way she dressed and all that. She'd even said herself it didn't have any showgirl tunes or anything like that. I don't know if artistically her voice can carry that off. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't expecting that whole 20s showgirl jazzy vibe from her. I really wasn't. But I also wasn't expecting as much regression. And I mean, and the Swifties were picking this apart. You had white girls talking about the microaggressions on this album, and I was just like, "Damn." And so once I was actually listening to the words, I'm just like, so the part about her not being a savage and not being a baddie and having a big ass and a fatty, I'm like, is that because there were rumors that a couple years ago Travis and Megan hooked up? Like it was just a hookup, a random thing. Like, so and I'm just like, you're 35 years old. You're too fucking old for this shit. And so listening to it, just really breaking it down lyrically, I can't disagree with what has been said out there about the album, and about her lyrics. Yeah. So I lyrically it's not a good look, especially for someone who I think you should be above that, pot shots at people who have nothing to do with you in no way, shape, or form. Your insecurity, regardless of who he predominantly dated in the past, he's with you now, you know? So it's just like, if this is the best you can do, if this is the album you've been working years on and waiting years to make, what does that say about you? So yeah, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. And from it's not a good look. From when you break it down and dissect and really dissect it, it's not a good look. If you're just listening to it just, like, on a glance, like, just not putting too much into the lyrics and just putting it on the background and letting it play while you clean, or something, it's a perfectly fine album, but if you're like her fans and you listen to every word that she says and you dissect every word that she says, and like I said, I really haven't done that since Midnights and Folklore, then yeah, it's bad. It's bad, and I think also, I'm not dismissing what you said last time, but I don't put much weight into Taylor Swift being the feminist and I don't expect her to speak out much, and I don't expect she's like a Caitlin Clark in that extent to me, and then when she does try to speak out, she gets pummeled by him and his "I hate Taylor Swift" tweets, which could but then I didn't realize that when they got engaged, because I don't pay much attention, that he went and tweeted something mango mushroom is the he I'm talking about congratulations, he can't think of a better couple, and so I'm like, Okay." But yeah, so it's just how do I say this? Artistically, creatively, and probably emotionally, it's time for her to grow up and mature. Like, you can't she's like Peter Pan. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense, yes. That's a good
So
reference.
I think it's time to grow up.
I will just say let me not say I will just say. I take back my statement that I consider her to be a great songwriter, and I'm gonna revise it. And my revision is that I think she used to be a great songwriter. I think she was really, really good at putting her emotions and her feelings on paper into a song and make you understand where she was coming from because you've been through something similar. I think she did a fantastic job of that for a very, very long time. I think that she has lost that. And I think part of the reason why she has lost that talent is because she has never grown up. Lyrically, she has not grown up. And I will agree with you that I thought she did. I thought there was an evolution of her talent with some of those more, I would call them like indie albums, for lack of a better term. I thought that you were seeing an evolution of her into a grown ass woman. And she reverted right back. And I necessarily don't know why, but she reverted back to her old ways, to her tried and true, and it's coming back to bite her in the ass now. And I think that the reason why is because Taylor Swift is a jealous bully, and she hates to see anybody else successful because she feels the success should only be hers. She's a jealous bully, and we have seen multiple instances of her showing herself to be a jealous bully. And the fact that when you look around, you see that kind of focusing on who she considered to be her best friend is confirmation on her being a jealous bully because that's what her best friend is. okay? And yet she continues to hold 10 toes down on that best friend, which that's you. Like, love your friend, be there for your friend. I got it. Um, but it's confirmation in decisions that she makes, and then she hides behind her team, so that she doesn't get blamed for it. The fact that with this album, it's come out on just how manipulative she is when it comes to the market and to her keeping her billionaire status and making sure that nobody else can share the podium with her. Like, she don't even want a second and third place. Like, she want the whole entire thing to herself. She want to stand on the stage by herself with nobody else there with her. When we talk about songwriters, somebody brought it up and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, like, yes." Adele is a phenomenal songwriter.
She is.
One of the best of our generation,
Yes.
okay? Adele, you have seen the evolution of Adele's music and her lyrics as she has grown up as a grown-ass woman. Adele with 21 is not the same Adele with 25.
She's not even the same at 19.
Exactly. Like not there's been a progression. As she's grown up and she's had life experiences, you've seen a shift in uh her skills and her talent in how she performs. Taylor Swift has never had that and is more defined today with this album than I think ever before. So when people say now, because I always think like, who's her peers, right? And when people say like she's a phenomenal songwriter, I'm like, yeah, yeah, like she is. Like, I'll give her that. And then they'll mention, yeah, Adele is a phenomenal songwriter. And I'll be like, damn, because she can't even touch Adele's feet when it comes to songwriting, like at all. And so I'm just like, you're right. That's true. I have to rethink that, revise it a little bit. She used to be amazing, and I don't think she is now. I think that she doesn't know what to do with herself. I think that she's trying to figure out what lane she's in, and she's undecided. She can't figure out what lane she's in. She can't figure out where she stands on anything. She flip flops with the times. Okay? When it looks like is advantageous to be a feminist, she's a feminist. When it's advantageous to be all about the gays, she's all about the gays. When it's advantageous to kind of dip her toe in or try to dip her toe because, the Black community has never fully run with Taylor Swift. Not to say they're not Black Swifties, but she ain't never really had a foothold in that. She does that. But she kind of goes with the times and whatever seems to be popular at the moment, that's what she going to do. All right? And when you think about who's popular right now, right? Who has made this aesthetic of like, being very sexual and open and rah, rah, rah. And she saw that and she was like, bet, because you can't do it better than me, right? I got to take that from you. And so she did, right? She broke Adele's record. How did she break Adele's record? She
For
had to
what?
release for most albums sold in a week, I believe, right? So Adele's 25 sold 3.2 million, I think it was. And Taylor Swift is now up to about 4 million, right? And everybody was like celebrating like she broke Adele's record. Adele had two versions of 25. Two. She had 28 versions of Showgirl,
Did
and all
Adele
those versions count
did Adele
towards the
release both versions at the same time? I thought the
Mhm.
deluxe came out later.
No, no, no. So she had the deluxe, but there was I think like maybe like one or two songs that she released with it, maybe. But she sold 3 million of hers for her record. Taylor Swift has now broken the record with 28 versions of her CDs.
You have 28 versions of the same fucking CD.
Because she added like little things here and there for each of the versions, right? So one is her audio notes, right? On her actually singing the songs and figuring out like, how the lyrics were going to go and how the music was going to match the production of the songs. She released that on one. Another one is like the photos and the images that are in the covers of the album or whatever. The fact that her CDs and her albums, as well as the digital forms, all count towards it. So they're saying she has so many versions that she sold 4,000,000 of them. That's amazing.
Well, yeah, so I can admit when I am wrong or, hey there, I may jump to, uh,
Oh,
judgment.
he's been so good. I forgot he was there.
Yeah, um but so I will admit I had, rushed, very cursory reaction, and then once I was forced to go back and truly listen to the lyrics and what she was saying and all of that, I'm like, I couldn't disagree. You know, some of it I think is nitpicking, like when she says she wants a street full of kids. Like she's just saying she wants a bunch of kids and she want 'em to look like him. I wasn't thinking that she wants to live, so some people I think took shit a little too far, and I'm like, "Okay," but I could understand where they're coming from, but I was like, I'm not
Her team
necessarily."
is It's because her team is smart enough with the Easter eggs and the connections that she has been made already with her albums, and she's never denied the Easter eggs and the connections within her different albums and the aesthetics of her albums. And so doing that, people have like broken down her albums before and they're like, "Oh no, that's great. Like you got it. Like fantastic." So people breaking down her album now and saying and going deeper into it is because it is that deep, because it's always been that deep in the lyrics that she writes. Like, there's always hidden messages in the lyrics that she states because she never denies it. She never denies that there's a deeper meaning to certain things that she says. And so when it comes to them doing it now with an album that they hate and her being like, isn't like I just wrote, some songs. Like I
Now
wasn't
all of a
thinking of
sudden
it
it's not
that
that
deep.
deep.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's not that deep, but it was that deep when they were breaking down your other albums in order to understand like, "Oh, what is she saying about this ex-boyfriend? What is she saying about that ex-boyfriend?" It was that deep. But now that people don't like the album, it's not that deep. It's surface level. That's not true. The words that you write have a deeper meaning because you identify yourself with that, right? That you can write lyrics and you can go really deep with your feelings and emotions. So it can't be surface level all of a sudden because this album is not as your other ones, but it was deeper with your other previous album. So
So, I
I
mean,
think that's why people are really breaking it down when it comes to this album.
and I get that, but with this one particular lyric, if I were in love with a guy and I said I wanted my kids to look like him, if I was basically saying I want to have a street full of kids and I want them to all look like you, am I saying that, I just wanna live in an all-white neighborhood or what? I mean, so on that particular I get it because people say that all the time, "I wanna have a shitload of kids and I want them to look like you, the mom or the dad," so I don't know, and like I said, I don't wanna make it seem like I'm defending her because 'cause I'm not. That particular lyric is not one I was gonna say made her the queen of Magadon or the queen of the KKK or whatever, but I get why the Swifties are not really particularly feeling the album, especially if you listen to her that deeply where you have to break down every single thing she says. And again, I quite honestly don't have a problem with saying that she probably peaked with Folklore and Midnights in that generation, that era. And God help Travis if and when they break up.
You think they're real?
Like I said, on paper, God help Travis if and when they break up. When it ends, when it's over, is that better?
Because I just wanted to know because, like, I feel sometimes that, like, like, I'm biased. I'm biased when it comes to Taylor Swift. I'll be honest. I am. I'm very biased when it comes to Taylor Swift because I will continue to say on an end note, she's a mediocre white woman. But like when I see it, I'm just like the transformation for him. I was just like, it just is not fully. I don't know. Like I
It's
understand, like people change and they evolve, and
it's
I'm not saying
helped
that
his
he
let me
wouldn't,
put it
but
this way, it's helped his post-football aspirations.
okay. Okay. That makes sense. Yep,
As
I
he
can see
was
that.
becoming more popular and more noticeable and one of the faces of football, his dating history was getting exposed.
And he had to switch it up real quick. He had to switch it up real quick.
Listening to him on his podcast, people realized that he was really spicy. If you look at his friend circle, it is the opposite of hers.
Mhm. Mhm. You right. Mhm.
So, I think this has done a lot to help his branding after football. I don't know how particularly well it's gone over with the original crowd, but
No,
he's not going to walk away he's not the dumb football player that people want to mistake him as.
he's not.
He's very intentional about his brand, and he always has been. So, let's just say that if I'm not saying one way or the other, but if what most people feel about this relationship is true, she's not the only one getting something out of it.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, if and when it's over, if he doesn't allow himself to be the bad guy, if he gets out of it the Joe Alwyn way, where he's not the victim, I mean, where he's not the villain,
Mhm.
he will have accomplished he set out to accomplish.
Okay. No, that I fully understand, and I see that because yeah. 'Cause I can making the connection with his after football, I was like, "That makes sense." Like, I'm like, "Okay," because he is setting himself up really, really well for after, his football career is over on what he's going to do next, especially in the direction that football as a whole is going in. In a lot of ways, he's setting himself up to be on that train for survival.
Let's just talk about it for a moment. You and your brother already had a very great podcast, consistently number 1 in the sports realm before even before that. Great thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Most people were thinking that it was gonna be temporary, but as it became more popular, how do we get this? Now, you guys have signed $100 million podcast deal since. Now you have guests on your podcast outside the sports world. Leonardo fucking DiCaprio, who does not do podcast, did your fucking podcast. Leonardo DiCaprio, who does not do solo interviews anymore because he's Leonardo fucking DiCaprio, did your fucking podcast. Brad Pitt did your podcast. Say what you want, he's still fucking Brad Pitt.
Mhm.
This week's guest, Keanu Reeves. Keanu doesn't do a lot of podcasts.
Doesn't.
He doesn't do a lot of
He barely does interviews.
so,
Okay.
again, think about the bigger picture in the brand. So, I'm not going to the conspiracy theory route, I just hope I answered your question.
You did. No, when you broke it down with the pot like that, I got it.
So,
Thank
like I said,
that makes so much sense. It makes perfect sense.
if and when it's over, if he can I hope whatever arrangement, he can get out of this without being made the villain,
Mhm.
it will have been a very fruitful relationship.
I'll say just one more thing. When this ends, he better stick to people that look like her and don't come back over to the other side.
You know what? I don't even think it's a matter of that because let's let's just do this again. He didn't go for any Becky. He got
He went for
the
the ultimate. Mhm.
so
Yeah.
again, I can't even say that. I can say if it's go big or go home.
Mhm. That shows his that also shows his intelligence. Like, on he played it so well that you got the number 1. Like,
I mean,
if I'm gonna set myself up, I'm going number 1, and he went number 1.
it wasn't like there was a string of them before.
No. It was like boom, and then boom.
Yeah. And so and I think most people strategically seeing what was happening off of the court or off
Mhm,
of the field knew that probably his next relationship would be public, and it
mhm.
would be with someone of some clout. It wasn't gonna be just an ordinary
Nah, it's gonna be somebody big.
it was gonna be somebody. Did they know it was gonna be that
That
big?
big?
I don't think so, but just because of things that were that how you wanted to set yourself up and position yourself for life after and I can say that you gotta love a man who takes his family along for the ride with him.
Yeah, like, very like, smart. That's business smart. That's business
So,
smart.
I just hope that, like I said, whatever agreement, you don't have to play the villain in the end.
Mhm.
And if you negotiated that for yourself, then you'll be alright.
Thank you, 'cause
So, did that answer
you
your
you
initial question of
yeah, you clarified a lot of things based on the fact that, like, I wasn't as knowledgeable of him, but you clarified a lot of things, so I'm like, "Okay, I
so,
got it. I'm just gonna
did I
watch
fully
what
answer your
happens."
question about my belief in the reality of this relationship?
Yes, you did. Yes, you
Okay.
did. You sure did.
'Cause I know some people will be out there like, "She didn't answer the question."
You did. You
Okay,
definitely answered the question.
okay. Just wanted so, I think that definitely does it for this
Yeah.
episode of The Wind Down, but be sure to like, listen, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Watch us on YouTube. Sorry for the bad lighting and the horrible thing, but my original setup was not available today. Next time, we will be
Yeah.
back to normal. Anyway, Tammy, I hope time does well, and hopefully the next time we talk, it won't be so like, we'll have
So
more.
passionate. I won't be so passionate. Maybe I can settle down a little bit.
Your passion is great. I think we need that. We need more of it, not less of it. Alright, until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace.
Don't try to change me in any way. You don't own me. Don't tie me down. I guess high up in love, I don't know how to love me. No, no, sure.